Can you guys hear me? Everybody hear me okay? Mic's noisy? All right, let me fix it. Yo, honestly, I think it's not the mic. I think it's my phone. Everybody has these mics. No matter what mic I have problems with it. It gets choppy, so I may need to go into Apple and have them about my phone. Is that better? Well, it was probably better before my mic was on, but now the mic's back on. That's more better. Better. Thank you. Decline that. Let's bring on Felice. Probably have to do it again. Good morning, Felice.
Hi.
Oh, I don't know what the key is. Maybe it's unplugging and plugging before you get here. I think that might be the key.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. You sound amazing. Are you
Cute.
excited? It's happy stormy day.
I can barely hear you. Is that I have
My
my
mic could be turned down. Is that? Whoa! Thank
I've
you.
never seen that. Cinco de Mayo was
That was
just
beautiful.
Sunday, right?
Is it better now? Is the volume better now?
It's very quiet to me. I have
Hmm.
I have my earphones at the same place I did yesterday. But
I'm just looking at my mic. Like it's pretty
does he
loud.
sound quiet to you guys? Hello?
I'm looking. Everybody that says no. It's just you.
Okay, I'll just turn my microphone up. I don't know.
Sorry. Maybe I'm just more subdued today. Maybe that's what it is.
I don't think so because I can't
Still
hear
can't
you.
hear?
I can barely hear you. Like if I
Plug.
make noise, I can't hear your voice. So I
Yeah, plug
don't
in and out.
Hello?
How's that? Is that better? Still the
I
same?
I don't I mean, I guess I'll just try to listen. I'm
Just drop and come back. Let's see. It could be that. If Let's do this. I'll disconnect you. Comes back. It's probably just a TikTok thing. You guys all have good sound from both. Yeah, I can hear her. I can hear her fine too. So I don't think that's the case. Let me move this down a little bit. Come on, mom. Sorry, mom and dad are struggling this morning. Thanks, Jen.
Hi.
Is that any better?
Yeah, let's just say it is. I don't know what's going on.
Terrific. Terrific. Well, just go full blast. Stormy Daniels today testified this morning. Did you want to cover any of that stuff? I didn't find anything. I made a TikTok the last 30 minutes, so I didn't get all of her testimony, but nothing in there was really earth-shattering that I saw, but you may have seen some stuff.
No, I mean she's on the stand right now. So I haven't gone like the transcripts aren't out. Like I haven't gone through it. So
I
I
still
mean, I
think it's
read the like in real time reporting from court reporters, but
I I just I think it's crazy that fine if you don't want to have video cameras, but no audio recordings of all of this. That's crazy. I think that's absolutely insane that we have a case like this and we can't see it. Like we're relying on like early 1900s journalism to get this stuff done.
could you add my backup and
Yes.
mute it?
Oh, I gotta add Jen too. Hi, Jen.
Hi, I just Discord. So.
I got you. Okay. Thank you. Nice to
Mm-hmm.
see you this morning.
Oh
There's Jen
yeah.
being all pleasant and shit. By the way, while you're here, Jen, you may have noticed a difference on our YouTube channel. Thumbnails have improved, hashtags have improved, and engagement has improved. So, W Jen. Jen's been working her ass off, honestly.
Will you mute me?
Yeah, sorry. Jen's been working her ass off to get that stuff and learn. So, everything you see on YouTube is literally Jen learning by herself and then posting it. So, W Jen. Thanks, Jen, for all you do.
I think it's like an OCD thing for me. It's probably not healthy,
You're
but
just a maniac. Yeah, that's probably right.
yeah, I'll probably send you a bill for my therapy. So
Yeah. Well, that's gonna go to collections.
all right,
Okay,
later.
see it. We'll just keep moving Jen around to different therapists until they catch on to our little grift. Um, One thing I do want to say is that part of the evidence that's going to go around today that you're going to hear from Republicans, and you're seeing the messaging come out. Like, if Bo, do you know who Bo Loudon is by chance, Felice? She's locked in. Bo Loudon
Sorry, I
is.
didn't hear. I can
You're
barely
good.
hear you.
Oh, that's right. What do we do about that? Do you want to
I
go?
think maybe once I'm not fiddling with things, like my volume's all the way up, I just have to like focus on nothing else and make no other noise, and maybe I can hear you. I don't know.
Oh, good. So just be perfect in every way. So Bo Loudon, he might be 18 now, but he got famous being like a 17-year-old for Trump. But anytime Bo Loudon puts up anything substantive, just know that he's getting those talking points from whoever's sending these out. So the Republicans today are out and they're showing two letters, one dated January 10th of 2018 and one dated January 30th of 2018. Both of these are just letters signed by Stormy Daniels, where she says that she never had an affair with Donald Trump and that these rumors aren't true. And Republicans are trying to use this as like proof that nothing happened, except for nobody's really disputing that it happened. Like in court, they're not disputing that it happened. Nobody's trying to pretend that this affair didn't happen. So it's a bizarre thing. Again, it's distraction by the right. Don't even engage in that. Like it doesn't matter. Both Donald Trump also lied during 2018 and said that didn't happen, and both of them have recanted their story. Well, Trump goes back and forth, but it's obvious that this happened. So don't let MAGA get away with it today that these two letters exist. Don't let them get away with that because this did happen. The money happened, and they're just trying to get you to not pay attention to what's happening in court today. Are we ready, Felice? We're back to Rachel Maddow. Rachel Maddow's been making a lot of appearances. By the way, while Felice is going, somebody I think his name is Chris messaged me yesterday, and if you guys can help, if anybody can help with this, I was told that somehow a clip, I don't know if it was a clip from our show or one of our or my TikTok made it onto either MSNBC or CNN, and he can't remember which one, but it was Saturday morning. So if anybody has seen that clip, apparently Zeus was on there as well. If anybody has seen that clip and you find it, DM it to me.
Okay. Are we ready to watch Rachel Maddow?
Yeah, do you want me, when I want to jump in, just raise my hand? Because you probably won't be able to hear me if I try and
Yeah, that's
interject,
fine.
right? Okay, I'll do that. We'll make it work. All
So
right,
last
Felice,
night,
take it away.
Rachel Maddow did a sort of investigative piece, or not investigative piece, but just like commentary. And we're going to go through, like, with the transcript of the Stormy Daniels trial, yesterday's contempt hearing, right? He was found in contempt for the 10th time yesterday. So we're going to go over the contempt hearing and then the larger implications of that, like historically and then going forward. It's super interesting.
Have you ever heard of anybody being in contempt that many times in one court case? I don't know. Has that ever happened? I'm sure it has, but I've never heard of that. It's crazy.
Well, it's a two-tier justice system. Anyone else would be in jail. Like I mean, there would be no contempt because they would just be put in jail.
Do you
So no,
remember?
I don't think this has happened because you don't get chances. You don't. I mean, you don't get to make threat after threat. A normal person would just be in jail during their trial.
Yeah, do you remember right before the trial started? It didn't get, it wasn't like headline news. It came out from, in fact, I saw it because Republicans did, but I think it was Adam Schiff that introduced it, or maybe he was just speaking about it. I'm not sure. But a bill that was introduced that basically removes the Secret Service protections should somebody have to go to jail. And I do think that they were preparing for this, that the judge does need a way to, and in going forward, if these other cases wind up going to trial, these judges need a way to corral Donald Trump from just, I mean, this guy doesn't keep any rules. No, he's just like, fuck the justice system. And all of these MAGAs show up and they're cool with it. But I think Marjorie Taylor Greene came out and was like, they're trying to jail our president. Anyways, it makes sense now. Shows that Democrats are usually like 3 steps ahead of Republicans.
Yeah, and so we'll go through the transcript, but I heard someone say in the comments like sick of the I think like the empty threats. Like, I mean, that's essentially the point of what happened at this contempt hearing yet. And the judge just said, like, before I hand down my ruling, like, I would like to address the defendant directly, and basically is saying, I want to be clear for many reasons. I don't want to put you in jail, but this is where we're at. The next time you have to, like that's there are no more warnings. That's essentially what Juan Merchan was explaining to Donald Trump. Like, this is it. You've pushed it to this point. Like, now you make the decision of whether or not you want to end up in jail.
Can I ask you a question? I meant to ask you this yesterday, but we got sidetracked. And by the way, while you're here, if you could hit that lap button, not lap, like button, tap the nose there. We'll see if we can get the likes up quickly so we can get on the For You page. Also, that's the Cash App and the Venmo. So if you want us to read a comment or if you just like to donate to the cause, that's the Cash App and Venmo. The PayPal link is in my bio, but most of the times, like one time I saw the message. But most of the time, for some reason with PayPal, I don't get a message. So if you're trying to get a message to us, I would recommend using one of the other two. And did I miss anything? I think that's it. Yeah. There we go.
Okay.
Oh, that was my question. So yesterday, the way that you're saying Mershan, is that
No,
just is that the
this
correct way to say it?
it's not Sean. That would be a French
Merchan?
pronunciation. It's Chan. Like, yeah, he's Spanish. He's from South America.
I was unaware of that. Thank you. I wasn't sure what it was. Because obviously we just hear Mershan, right? We Americanize it, but it's Merchan.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. Yeah, essentially, the CH does not make an S in Spanish. So, yeah.
Oh, that was the other thing. Also, if you are opposition, we're going to go through these clips, but at any time, if you're opposition and you would like to talk to us about something that we're discussing currently, or the topic of why you won't vote for Biden, or you just want to bring up a topic, you're welcome to jump in the box anytime. Well, there we go.
What's
Are you going
up?
to be able to hear Felice? Okay. Can you hear
I
Ty?
can hear him. I can hear what he
Just
just
not
said.
me? That's not a bad deal for you. What's up, Ty?
What's up? How's your day going?
Ah, beautiful now that you're here. Thanks for showing up.
I know, right? I get to tell you why Trump is so amazing.
Yeah, go ahead. Is that what you want to talk about?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
So, the reasons why Trump is so amazing, I would like him to be more of a Ronald Reagan type of a supporter of the Second Amendment. You know who Ronald Reagan is, right? One of the greatest presidents ever.
Sure. Sure.
So I would like him to be a strong supporter of the Second Amendment. He's a supporter of the First Amendment, freedom of religion,
Yeah,
freedom.
he's not a supporter of the First Amendment. That's absolute nonsense. On the social media app that he owns, he regularly edits out things that are critical of him. They ban people like crazy and they censor information on the free speech app that he owns. This guy, he is not a free speech advocate. That's crazy.
So he's not a Christian. He's not.
Oh, I don't care if he's a Christian or not. I don't believe that he is, but I don't care.
So he
Ty
doesn't
fixed
support.
the sound. I think Ty coming up here has made it so I could hear. I don't
Thanks, Ty.
So he doesn't support religion.
What do you mean by that? Yeah, well, I think he elevates Christians. I think that's what he does. And that's what you're mistaking the elevation of your rights over everybody else's as
No.
respecting religion. Yeah, no, sure it is. Like, why this attack on abortion? Why this attack on trans people? Christianity. He's giving you guys extra rights, or trying.
It's not about giving people rights over and not giving other people rights.
Yes, it is. That's exactly what it's about.
The reason why we are pro-life is not because of religion or any other thing.
No, it's 100% because of
You're
religion.
you're you are absolutely wrong. You've been fed misinformation about
By
us.
who? Who?
By Democrats, by Joe
Okay,
Biden.
what's abortion about then?
The reason why we are pro-life is because we believe
Believe.
that
Believe. Where do your beliefs stem from?
that everyone should be guaranteed a right to live.
Why?
Why not?
I'm asking you your opinion. I'm not arguing with you. I'm asking you your
Because
opinion.
everyone, no matter who they are, deserves a right to live in this world and be who they want to be.
Okay, so are you also against like masturbation? Those are potential lives being put into a crusty sock.
We're not going to get into that.
I am. This is my show. I am going to get
No,
into
it's
that.
important. It's important. Those are lives. So
I'm talking about fetuses right now.
I know that. But is a fetus a person?
Yes, 100%.
Okay. Do you think you could correctly identify a human fetus versus the fetuses of other animals?
I think we could. Right now, I don't think.
There's
But
a very
I
famous clip Felice could show you of Charlie Kirk saying, "I 100% believe that that is a human," and it's a picture of a dolphin fetus, and they
I've
look exactly the same.
I've
In
seen
real
that.
life, do we confuse dolphins and humans?
No, but
No. So there's obviously a difference, right?
yes,
What's the difference?
one's. I mean, we're all animals, but we're different types of animals.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But at the beginning, you can't tell the difference, right?
I mean, I would think biologists,
There's no
scientists.
legs, there's no arms, there's no sentience, there's no heartbeat early on. Like there's a lot of ways that a fetus is not a human. So why do you guys want to extend those rights? This is the problem that I have with conservatives. You guys are lying.
No, we're
And you're
not.
lying right now. Like as a Christian, Ty, you're lying right now.
I'm not
You
a
guys,
Christian,
no,
but
it's about your Christian beliefs. And you know that you can't say it's about your Christian beliefs because then it elevates your Christian beliefs. But you guys are pro-life because of your Christian
no,
beliefs.
absolutely wrong.
Okay, then why do you believe?
Because no one should be taken off this earth because someone chooses to do so. That's not right.
Okay, what about people who are medically their brain is they're brain dead, medically brain dead. There's no brain function, but the rest of their organs are still operating and they're alive. Can you pull the plug on that?
Are they ever going to be able
They're
to
on life
live?
support. No, never.
Then I would say the difference between like a fetus and someone that is medically brain dead is that person is never going to be able to enjoy life again. A fetus.
Could the fetus enjoy life without the mother? Without using the mother's nutrients to grow?
No.
Okay, so it's the same, isn't it?
No. Can the mother?
Why is it different?
Can the baby, when it is out of the womb, survive without a mother?
Yes.
And how does it survive?
Somebody would feed it. Could be a father, could be an orangutan. You
So
ever watch Jungle Book?
So it needs someone to give it nutrients.
Yes, someone,
Like
not a specific person though, right? And that person who gave them nutrients, are they like like if I see a baby, is that like, and that baby's thirsty, do I have to then take care of that baby the rest of my life?
Are you the one that is choosing to adopt or take care of the baby?
No.
So you're talking about just a baby that's out there in the middle of the road, or
Anyway, let's just use this example. This is easier. I'm adopted, right?
yes,
So I have a biological mother and a mother who raised me.
yes,
The mother that raised me, did
Yeah.
she have any say over what happened to me in the womb?
No, she wasn't there.
Why not?
She wasn't there.
Were you there?
No,
So why do you have a say over what women choose to do?
because women are choosing what to do with another person's body. It's
Wait,
not
but
their
why
body.
didn't the mother who raised me have the ability to tell my biological mom what to do? Why not?
Because she wasn't there. She wasn't the mom at the time.
Okay, and are you the mom at any time, Ty?
No, but there's a dad
Okay,
there.
but you can tell people what to do, right?
But there's a dad there, right?
You don't know, but we're talking to you right now. But so
Yes.
it's okay for you to tell women that they have to carry a pregnancy to term.
We are not telling them to. We are just saying that you are not allowed to unalive this child just because you don't want it.
That's
Just
the same
because
thing, dude. You're playing
because-
semantics right now. No, it is what you're saying. You're telling the mother they don't have a choice. And
You're
you can talk
forcing
about
women
your
to give birth,
No.
Ty. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. And I have bodily autonomy, and I do not need to keep something alive inside my body. Like I don't need to be lived off of. You can't force a woman to carry a pregnancy to term. That's called forced birth.
Is it is it is it another person inside of you? Why do you have the right to say what you can and can't do with
No.
that?
Are you talking about do you believe life begins at conception?
It does.
No, it doesn't.
There, you can look at many biologists. There's many studies.
do biologists write our laws?
No, it begins at implantation. You don't know anything about women's bodies.
Life does
You should not even comment on them. Conception is a religious term, and you are religious because scientists don't say life begins at conception.
There's been many studies that have been done that says life does begin at
No, Ty,
conception.
this is another way that Christians are so dishonest, and this is one of those ways. What they say is that you don't and until you have implantation, which is what she's talking about, which is what they say, because again, conception is not a biological term. Once you have implantation, that is when a human life can come about. It can't like just you by yourself, you can't do it. A woman by
Because
herself without semen, she
if it
can't do it.
implants, Ty, say not inside the uterus, is that pregnancy viable?
Is the baby ever,
If it doesn't implant inside the uterus, is the pregnancy viable?
is the baby ever going to have a chance to live?
Is the pregnancy viable? If it
Um,
implants, say, in the fallopian tube, is
is
the
the
pregnancy viable? Yes or no?
I would say if the baby has a chance to live, then
Yes
yes.
or no? If the egg implants anywhere than in the uterus, is the pregnancy viable?
No.
Exactly. So life doesn't begin at
Yes, it
conception, which
does.
is a religious term. That's why ectopic pregnancies, right? It's very dangerous for women when there's an implantation in the fallopian tube. And you know what happens then? Women are at risk and people with uteruses are at risk of death.
And how many times does that happen?
Unbelievable amounts. Ectopic pregnancies are way more common than you think. But please let me remind you, if you're going to try to make that how many times does that happen thing, then you better not be one of these um, Democrats want abortions up until like the ninth month of pregnancy because those never happen except for 0.0000001% of the time when literally a woman is not going to make it, or in my sister's case, the baby is underdeveloped and cannot live. Maybe it will live for hours, maybe, but it will not live because for some part of their body is underdeveloped.
So, when is there a heartbeat? When is a heartbeat found in a fetus? Or no, it's a baby.
What week do you think it is? I just out of curiosity, because I
It,
think it's around yeah, I think it's around 15, isn't it?
isn't it like 15 or 22 days?
No, that you're talking about so what you're talking about is
He has no
another thing
idea
that
what he's talking
Christians and
about, but
Republicans
wants
are
to
lying about.
force people with uteruses to give birth.
Yeah, so what it is it's checking waves, and they create that sound. That fetal heartbeat that happens at 6 weeks, that's a sound that's created by the computer. It's not a heartbeat. So it's another lie
It's an
Christians have been told.
ultrasound. Ultrasounds use sonar. They send out sound signals to map terrain.
But it's still a heartbeat.
No, it's not a
No,
heartbeat.
it's not, Ty. God, it's so embarrassing.
And how many abortions
Wait, you
have,
understand it's not a heartbeat, right? Your question was don't move on. We need you to understand that it's not a heartbeat. Do you understand that?
you can believe that, but
No,
I would.
it's scientifically it's not a heartbeat.
So are there any
Like we're saying,
scientists that,
even in pro-life abortion debates, you're getting it wrong.
and are there any scientists that would say it is a heartbeat? Yes or no?
No.
So there would be none.
The valves of the heart don't even exist at 6 weeks.
Ty has no idea what he's talking about.
See, Ty, this is the problem. Like you're just you believe like you've decided like this is what I believe. I believe in being a conservative, and you're doing it backwards. You start with the belief that I'm a conservative, and then you just buy all the shit that you've been sold. Like you don't look
No,
into any of this stuff.
I do.
Okay, then why do you think it's a heartbeat at 6 weeks? Nobody
Because it
thinks
is.
that. There's not a single doctor who thinks that.
So why when I pull it up, is there articles talking about it?
Because conservatives lie and they like to try and make people think that at 6 weeks you have a functioning heart, but you don't. It's electrical activity, and the sound that you're hearing is manufactured by the ultrasound machine. There is no heart. It's just electrical activity,
We can
and that
agree to
electrical
disagree.
activity would still exist in times when you can find, or like weeks later you could find out that that pregnancy is not viable. You would still have those that electrical activity.
We can agree to disagree on
No, we
that.
cannot. No, we cannot. It is not a
We
fucking
cannot. This
heart
is
because
embarrassing
it's
for
not a
you.
heart, Ty. It's not a heartbeat because it's not a heart. And you are running from this because you don't know. And this is the cognitive dissonance. Any evidence that it goes against your conservatism, you just throw up a wall. You don't want to learn anything new, Ty. You just want to come on and tell women what to do with their body because Jesus said so.
There's separation of church and state in like that is what the founding fathers, for all you originalists, textualists, like I mean that's what separation of church and state is about. I support your right to be religious, right? Just like what is JJ, the guy that was up here when Danielle was here last Friday. I support his wife's right to be religious, and even in the face of medical complications, to bravely choose to soldier on and give birth. But I'm not, yeah, bye. But but that doesn't mean that's the choice for everyone. If I say I almost died in birth, and so because of that, I'm choosing to have no more children, right? That doesn't make me any less valuable to society.
It's just like it's just gross how far Christians are willing to bend to the truth, and conservatives like they're just out here lying. And why? Because they want to get what they want, and they believe it's a just cause, so they'll justify anything, which is going to be a nice theme of the show today, and basically every show when we're talking about Donald Trump is like we will justify anything he does. We start with the premise that Donald Trump is innocent, that he is great, that he will fix our country, and then you work backwards. And anything that doesn't fit that narrative, you throw it out, and anything that does fit the narrative, you embrace it wholehearother.
But Ty did fix the sound. So,
Thank you, Ty.
like, that I
Thank
was
you.
gonna have a very long day of hearing like every other word. So, for that, I thank you, Ty. Okay, are we
Let me.
ready?
Nope, because
Okay,
Ty brought in some comments from
let's
Mel.
hear him.
Please ask Ty to stop pacing. Thank you. I heard that. uh, Cheyenne says, look up the case McCall versus Shimp. It shows legally that you cannot use another person's body to live. I'm not familiar with that. I need to look that up also. Thank you, Cheyenne. Linda says, even if a fetus is a person, why does that person have the right to someone's body against their will and without their consent? That's the question that none of them really want to answer, I
Yeah,
think.
like Danielle said, it's about bodily autonomy. You cannot force me to give my resources to keep another human alive. Period.
William says, I bet Ty doesn't give a damn about the babies once they're born. Who's going to support the babies born into bad financial situations or that lose their mothers due to complications? Right to live, just not live well. Big W, pro forced birthers. And let me just check Cash App to make sure nothing came in on there. Didn't look.
Yeah, adoption is trauma. You can minimize that trauma as much as possible. Like studies show, keeping like children in the same community maybe they came from, or ideally like familial relations can adopt a
Yeah.
child, and that is less traumatic if they can still know biological family members. But adoption is trauma. You are creating trauma.
Yeah, I can just tell you that I believe my parents did the best they could in raising me, but biologically and like personality wise we are so different that there was no chance really that my parents were going to understand me or know how to handle me in the way that might best work for me as I develop as a child. My biological family, we all we all think very similarly. We come to conclusions in the same way. We react to things in the same way. We're all pretty brash. We all say kind of like fucked up things. That's like my family chat. It would be a real problem if it ever got leaked, because like a lot of it is just people trying to say like the most offensive thing possible. But those type, like growing up in those, in that type of environment, like it is easy to feel alone. It's easy to feel unheard. It's easy for kids to learn. Like I had created my own coping mechanisms, just because if you feel so different from your parents, you can feel like you're in the wrong, that there's something wrong with you. So that, like, I applaud everybody who adopts children. I think it's a wonderful thing, and it's better than those children growing up without parents. But that doesn't mean that there's still not a bunch of trauma that's tied to it, and a bunch of stuff that you probably are going to have to deconstruct later. It's not like the perfect process for sure.
Absolutely. Could not agree more. Okay, so just to recap again, because that was sure some people's heart rates raised. It's hard sometimes to hear that stuff. Yeah, so Rachel Maddow did an amazing piece last night. She's using the transcript of yesterday's hush money trial, like in the beginning of the contempt hearing, right? And we're going to go through that because I don't think people are understanding like the gravity and how serious it was what happened. And then she expands on that into like both historical things that have happened in the past, like with Nixon and his pardon, and then looking forward to the future. It's really good.
I just want to point out that conversation started with Ronald Reagan was the greatest president ever. I know we skipped past that, but that's an insane thing to
He's
say.
like a like a hard line philosophy major in the making, but doesn't have any of the knowledge. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Almost ready.
Read this comment. And
Here we go. Ready?
AGTX lady said, thanks for
clerk.
politically educating me. Thank you. That's good.
Joshua Steinglass.
Oopsies.
For the people, Assistant District Attorney. Ready? The clerk. This is the people of the state of New York against Donald J. Trump. SMZ 71911/24. Appearances, starting with the people. Prosecutor Joshua Steinglass. For the people, Assistant District Attorneys Joshua Steinglass, Matthew Colangelo, Susan Hoffinger, Becky Mangold, Christopher Conroy, and Catherine Ellis. Good morning. Defense Counsel Emil Bovey. Good morning. Emil Bovey, joined by President Trump, seated to my left, and joined by Todd Blanche, Susan Nicholas, and Kendra Wharton. The judge. Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Trump. So the matter called into the record is the people's motion for contempt, meaning the prosecution's motion for contempt. The judge says, quote, before I hand down my decision, I did want to address the defense and Mr. Trump. Mr. Trump, as you know, the prosecution has filed 3 separate motions asking this court to find you in contempt. In a moment, I'm going to hand down my decision on the 3rd motion, in which I find you in criminal contempt for the 10th time. Quote, it appears that the $1,000 fines are not serving as a deterrent. Therefore, going forward, this court will have to consider a jail sanction if recommended. Mr. Trump, it is important to understand that the last thing I want to do is put you in jail. You are the former president of the United States and possibly the next president as well. There are many reasons why incarceration is truly a last resort for me. To take that step would be disruptive to these proceedings, which I imagine you want to end as quickly as possible. I also worry about the people who would have to execute that sanction.
I just want to. So right now he's listing his reasons why he does not want to put Trump in jail. But I just want to point out that like Trump, if you heard any of Trump's complaining yesterday, you know, his hallway rants, as I like to call them. Like when the trial was over yesterday, his hallway rant was like, they said 3 more weeks. Like, and it's like when I was looking into like what they were talking, basically the prosecution says they have 2 weeks left, you know, and then the defense gets to build their case. So he's like 3 to 4 more weeks for this trial. This is insane. I just want you to know that like normal trials, like there's things called stipulations, which like certain things that are just agreed upon. Like for instance, Stormy Daniels was a saved contact in Trump's phone, but Trump will not agree to any stipulations. That's why if you're like, why are they bringing up like these big witnesses and then some random person who they're like, hey, like you were his executive assistant. Was Stormy Daniels saved at his phone? Yes. Okay, thank you. Like, it's
Yeah.
because Trump will not agree to stipulations, like commonly agreed upon known things. This trial is being dragged out by Trump. I just want to make that point. So when he's like, I can't believe this is going on, like he could speed up this trial if he wanted to. Oh, did you want to?
I saw Ty was in the box. Ty, we're gonna keep going with this. I don't want to go back to that comment. You can come back later.
Sanction. The court officers, the correction officers, the Secret Service detail, among others. I worry about them and about what would go into executing such a sanction. Of course, I'm also aware of the broader implications of such a sanction. The magnitude of such a decision is not one-sided. But at the end of the day, I have a job to do, and part of that job is to protect the dignity of the judicial system and compel respect. Your continued violations of this court's lawful order threaten to interfere with the administration of justice in constant attacks, which constitute a direct attack on the rule of law. I cannot allow that to continue. So, as much as I do not want to impose a jail sanction, and I have done everything I can to avoid doing so, I want you to understand that I will, if necessary and appropriate. Do the attorneys have any other questions about that? I will now hand down the decision from the court. This is for the defense. This is for the people. This transcript then notes, whereupon the sergeant gives copies of the court's decision to the parties. And the judge says, quote, you can call the trial. The clerk. This is People of the State of New York against Donald J. Trump, indictment 71543/23, case on trial, continued. This was the third week of the trial. This was a momentous thing that happened today, right? This is, I mean, we kind of knew it was coming, but now that it's happened, this is a momentous thing. This is a lawful order of a lawfully constituted American criminal court. The judge saying, you are repeatedly disobeying this lawful order. If lesser sanctions cannot persuade you to stop violating this court's order, and apparently they cannot, then you will be jailed. Even, yes, as a former president of the United States, you too are a citizen and are subject to the law like every citizen is. We're there. We have never been in a place like this before. And that's because of really, specific historical circumstances. When Richard Nixon resigned the presidency in disgrace, he was caught using the powers of the presidency to mess with his political opponents. He resigned in disgrace, and his vice president, who then ascended to the presidency, gave Nixon a full pardon. Why did he give him a pardon? It says explicitly in the explanation of the pardon, the language of the pardon says explicitly that that happened so Nixon would not face arrest and indictment and trial. He had resigned the presidency, at least, right? So the threat he posed to the country was over, and so he was allowed to evade personal punishment. Remember, though, that was less than a year after Nixon.
Which has turned out to be a disaster, right? Like what she's doing is highlighting like the first time in history where, and what they basically said was, hey, if you'll go away and live a quiet life, we won't prosecute you. Like that is the handshake deal. But what basically has come now that we gave Nixon that deal, the idea of, hey, just go away and we won't prosecute you. Well, now we have someone who won't go away.
He just won't. He's like a fungus. He just keeps coming back.
Guys, keep tapping the screen while we watch and listen to this. Thank you.
Nixon's vice president also resigned. Also as part of, effectively, a plea deal with the Justice Department to avoid, in his case, what would have otherwise been his prosecution on 40 felony corruption charges. What happened to Spiro Agnew was a little bit like what happened to Nixon. In his case, there wasn't a pardon, but there was this plea deal to avoid prosecution. And so the dynamic was the same. Because Agnew agreed to leave office, that meant the threat he posed to the country as a deeply corrupt person in high elective office, that threat was over. And because he left office, he was allowed to evade significant personal punishment. And so neither Nixon nor Agnew went to jail for even a day. Now, though, we are learning the consequences of, in our history, letting presidents evade personal punishment when they have committed crimes. Because now we've got a former president who isn't leaving office, like Nixon did, like Agnew did. Now we've got one who isn't eliminating the ongoing danger to the public by getting out of public life. Right? So maybe that could have been what he traded his freedom for. No, for our sins, what we've got now is one of these guys who's staying in public life. And therefore,
Do you want to talk for a second? I'm going to switch my internet connection on this phone because I think it's lagging a little.
Yeah. Well, you guys, thank you for the taps. We're at 73,000. Again, the Cash App and the Venmo are above Felice's head if you'd like to send a message. There is a joke here for you, Felice, from our friend Sully. What is 6 inches long, 2 inches wide, and makes everyone go crazy?
What?
A $100 bill.
Oh,
Mind out of
that's
the
what
gutter,
I was
folks.
thinking.
We are not that kind of show. We are not the kind of show who says inappropriate things ever. We're not that kind. Well done, Sully. Let's see. What are you doing? You're just switching, trying to get it so it's not laggy? There's Sully. Hey, Sully. How are you? Not much. But yeah, somebody said not the mushroom PV. Please let that come up in court today. Please just. Sometimes I wish these attorneys would just do things for the people every once in a while. Just maybe have Stormy read about the song that Trump sang when they got the pizza, which was, "We're having pizzas with little pizzas on top."
Well, I want to say, like, I didn't, like, the transcripts out. I haven't done a deep dive on the Stormy Daniels testimony, but, like, the judge is being very careful. Like, she described the sexual encounter, and there were warnings that, like, the prosecution is being too detailed. And do you know what I'm saying? They need to walk a tightrope. Like, they need to tell the story without disparaging or biasing the jury in any way. So, like, I think that is what they're trying to do, but some of it is funny. Like, I learned that, like, Ben Roethlisberger was with Stormy Daniels when they first met.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, Big Ben, good for you. Big Ben doesn't want to be named in any more court cases. He would prefer that his name stay out of court cases. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can look up Big Ben, but he probably isn't thrilled about that.
the threat is alive, right? He's running to get back into the presidency with 4 different criminal trials stacked up like taxiing planes on a runway. And so, no, none of us having any idea what it will mean for us as a country for him to be sent to jail as part of these criminal proceedings is part of what is new for us in this moment. Today, Justice Juan Marchand in New York said jail is what is coming next if Trump continues to disobey court orders. And do you think he's going to continue to disobey these court orders? And Justice Marchand today said, quote, "I worry about the people who would have to execute that sanction, the court officers, the correction officers, the Secret Service detail, among others. I worry about them and about what would go into executing such a sanction. Of course, I'm also aware of the broader implications of such a sanction, but at the end of the day, I have a job to do. Your continued violations of this court's lawful order threaten to interfere with the administration of justice, constant attacks which constitute a direct attack on the rule of law. I cannot allow that to continue. As much as I don't want to impose a jail sanction, and I've done everything I can to avoid doing so, I want you to understand that I will. I will do it if I have to. Your direct attack on the rule of law cannot be allowed to continue." Just a signal moment in American history today. And it's sort of clearer to me on this day at this moment than it's ever been in my lifetime that the rule of law isn't just a bumper sticker, right? It isn't an abstract thing. It doesn't float in like a miasma and suffuse the atmosphere. The rule of law is specific.
Hey, if you guys don't know what a miasma is, it's like a disgusting smell.
Okay,
So it's
Googling
kind of
it.
funny that she said that because that's what, as far as I'm concerned, that's what I believe it means. Isn't it like
A
a
highly
disgusting?
unpleasant or unhealthy smell or vapor.
Yeah. So she's kind of making fun of Trump, I think.
Oh,
That's funny.
he's stinky. He's a stinky boy.
Day at this moment than it's ever been in my lifetime. that the rule of law isn't just a bumper sticker, right? It isn't an abstract thing. It doesn't float in like a miasma and suffuse the atmosphere. The rule of law is specific stuff in a day-to-day way. It means, for example, that court orders must be obeyed. And if you don't obey them, the court will punish you for that. It means, for another example, that people who are part of the judicial system, judges, court personnel, juries, witnesses, defense lawyers, prosecutors, it means they're also able to do their work without being threatened or intimidated or being harassed or fired by people who are associated with the accused. That's law and order, right? That's the rule of law. That's a nuts and bolts concrete thing. And it is under intense, incredible pressure. It is having trouble right now in our country because as the judge in Trump's first criminal trial is trying to stand up for the rule of law today, as he said in this warning to Trump, right? This cross the Rubicon moment in court today where he warned Trump he really is making plans to jail him if he keeps violating the court's order. While that is happening, simultaneously, the Republican-controlled Senate in the state of Georgia is moving forward on what appears to be their plans to subpoena the prosecutor who's leading the criminal case against Trump in the state of Georgia. District Attorney Fani Willis is leading that prosecution. As soon as she opened that investigation, the Republican...
So I just wanted to note really quick, I think it's important to note like what she's about to be talking about. Just picture the parallels. This is exactly what the House GOP train wrecks did with the weaponization committee, right? While people are trying to, let's say, run the country, or while the DOJ is trying to uphold the rule of law, let's put them on trial. Right? Like that is, they saw it happen federally. They saw the House Republicans do this, and they lit monkey see, monkey do in the Republican Party. They're trying to do a mini version of that in Georgia. Oh, Fani Willis dares put Orange Jesus on trial. Let's put her on trial.
Yeah, like so there's other instances. Obviously they have the when they went to New York for Alvin Bragg, like they hosted their event there to try and put Alvin Bragg on trial. They're doing it in Georgia. I just saw yesterday Andy Biggs. Now they have they're the Free Dumb Caucus and House Republicans are coming to Tucson, and they're going to talk about the failed policies of our state regarding the border. This is what they do. Like they've just become a traveling circus, a sideshow, a pep rally for Donald Trump, and they just do whatever he asks. The whole point of all of this, and it works on all the MAGA, you can see, the whole point is to just cast like some clouds over this and make it seem like it's not on the up and up. That's all he really needs from his folks. Now he's spiraling because it's not working. You're probably going to show the clip at some point of him like screaming, not screaming, but getting mad at his donors because they're not giving him enough money, and he's like, "Don't expect a picture unless you give me $40,000." But this stuff's not working. However, it did at first, and it does get that MAGA base to not pay attention to the trial and view everything as phony. That's why, like, in here, there's been a bunch of comments in here going after Rachel Maddow, and they're like, oh, MSNBC, who still went after the Russian hoax. It's like, yeah, that wasn't a hoax. You guys are just like, you're easily duped. It wasn't a hoax. That happened. His team worked with Russians. They pled guilty to it. But again, as long as you cast a shadow over it, none of you guys ever have to accept that real things that are happening actually happened, because you can just brush it off as like, well, I don't trust the media, so I'm not going to believe any of that.
Do we want, okay, I don't know. I was just looking at who was in the box. I didn't know.
Yeah, I see them too. My lies are better than yours. If you're opposition, just let Jen know in the comments. If not, then if you please hop out of the box.
Okay.
Republican-led legislature in Georgia started moving to try to curtail her authority, to give themselves the ability to fire her as a prosecutor. That process has been weaving and wending through legal obstacles for months now. But now they are planning to haul the prosecutor, to haul Fani Willis into the state Senate and force her to turn over evidence and testify herself under oath while she continues to try to lead that prosecution. Meanwhile, simultaneously on Capitol Hill, we've now got the Republican chair of the House Judiciary Committee, Congressman Jim Jordan, launching apparently some kind of new investigation into one of the assistant district attorneys who was in court today leading the prosecution of
Real
Trump and
quick,
his New
that guy, that douchebag right there, currently in open defiance of a congressional subpoena.
It's hilarious. He has
Yeah.
a subcommittee. He has a judiciary subcommittee to track down people disregarding subpoenas. Like,
Yeah.
start with yourself, weirdo.
Yeah, and Fonnie Willis correctly is not going to comply with this subpoena. There's nothing they can do to make her comply with this subpoena. There's
Oh no. Well, she's probably. Are you talking? That's two separate things. This is about Bragg. What Jim Jordan is doing. He's not. Jim Jordan's not subpoenaing Fonnie Willis. Like
Why
that
did I
has to
read-
do. That's the Georgia state legislature. They
That's
formed a
right.
committee
You're
where
right.
she's
Yeah,
going
yeah.
to testify. Jim Jordan is going after Alvin Bragg.
That's right. Sorry.
But still relevant. No, someone who is almost like 700 days in like direct defiance of a congressional subpoena should not have a judiciary subcommittee designed to punish people who are avoiding subpoenas.
Yep. Let's
And
bring up.
yeah, I was
My
going to say,
Lies.
I think
Yeah.
that's enough.
That's
Yeah.
good stuff. Welcome. What is it? My lies are better than yours.
How's it going,
I like
man?
that. Good. I like that name. That's clever.
Hey, I got a quick question about the Fannie Willis thing. Did Fannie Willis
Fannie?
It's
was
Fannie.
Why do all the Republicans say Fannie? all
They
the
always
time?
do. To
Why do you do that?
I don't know. I thought that was her name. Anyways,
Fonnie.
Fonnie
There we go.
Willis.
Yeah.
Was it not revealed in the hearings that they had that Fonnie Willis misappropriated allocated monies for violent offender prosecutions and redirected the funds to the purpose of prosecuting the Trump cases?
I don't think so.
You might look into that. My understanding is that
Misappropriated?
there was money that was allocated by the
She's
state
the
legislature.
district attorney.
Yeah, but the district attorney doesn't have unregulated latitude to redirect funds that are appropriated
Well,
for the
wait,
purpose.
I have a question for you. Are you talking about, because I watched the evidentiary hearing that was on TV surrounding the Nathan Wade stuff? Are you speaking about that hearing, or is this something that came out independent of that?
It came out during the evidentiary hearings of that.
But because I watched them and there wasn't, you're saying it was in the testimony?
Yes. It was
So
one of
I'm
her.
looking at the
It was one of her aides that admitted it.
Yeah. So I'm looking at this. It was Bill Cowser. It was asking about financial
What are you
or
looking at so I can
enhancement.
look it up?
I'm on. This is New York Post too. So I'll just drop it in Discord real quick. And there's probably a bunch of other articles that are better, but I'm trying to get an understanding of, because I haven't been following this in Georgia. Says that there were numerous enhancement requests for extra money Willis has made, including one for roughly $1 million in 2023 for general trial expenses. The chief financial officer of Fulton County said the amount was made as a lump sum, not specific with line item details. So to me, it seems like there wasn't line item, but the criticism is that they're saying that this is taking up resources, and there is a backlog of violent crimes in Georgia. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that is what I'm saying. But what I'm pointing to, you forgive me, I don't have it readily available right in front of me. I can go find it and
Sure.
post it in the comments. But there was a segment of information that was shared that there were monies that were appropriated that Fonnie had tapped into and redirected over to the prosecution of. Sorry, I got a phone call. That were
That's all right.
redirected over to the prosecution of other cases that were directed away from their intended allocated purpose, which was the, I believe it was violent offenders, unaliving, stuff like that. Essays, unalivings. So
Yeah,
my
I see.
understanding is that
Oh, go ahead.
that investigation into Fonnie is for her misappropriation of those monies.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, so obviously that's what they're going to use. Do you think that's what this is really about? I mean,
I think it's just as much about that as anything else is about anything that gets put on the news. I mean,
You don't think that
let's be fair.
Republicans specifically are bringing this allegation and specifically saying, look at what you're spending on the Trump campaign and look at these other, or not Trump campaign, Trump trial versus these other trials. You don't think that that is like political in nature?
Oh, it absolutely is political in
Okay.
nature. I mean,
Okay.
I think that's the same argument could be made for the behavior of doing it. If in fact she did it, I mean, I wasn't there, I didn't work in her office, but if she took money from those things to prosecute the Trump case and she wasn't supposed to, couldn't the same argument be made for that behavior that it was? I mean, you see what I'm saying? I mean, was
Yeah,
she supposed to do
I'm
it?
having a hard time finding even that claim. Like, and I'm going to exclusively right-wing sources. I don't see that there's that she misappropriated funds. I don't see
Here,
that. I see that a lot of people are saying that the Georgia system is not like others in that it kind of gives the Fani carte blanche to do what she wants. But I'm not seeing anything saying
well,
that there
let me
was.
read this.
Go
I
ahead.
think I have better. So this is Fox again. I'm looking up right wing sources because which Fox has no problem lying, but this is local Fox 5 in Atlanta. So like, let's hope maybe. And the title is Fani Willis allegations raise questions about misuse of taxpayer funds. So I'm going to just read this is it's not that long. So let's just see. Um the Fulton County Board of Commissioners approved its 2024 fiscal year budget on Wednesday, but much of the meeting was spent discussing funding for the Office of District Attorney Fani Willis. Many of the residents who spoke during the public input portion called for an investigation into how Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis has used county funds as part of her investigation into the Georgia election interference case involving former President Donald Trump and co-defendants. So is that, oh God, I just clicked on an ad. Why can I not win today? Does that sound like what you're talking about? Is that,
Yes, I'm not from Georgia, and I'm not super familiar with the laws. It is just my understanding that the statutes of allocations of funds to the DA's office is that those funds are intended to be used for those purposes, and that the DA does not have unilateral authority to reallocate those funds. My understanding is that that is the basis of that investigation. Again, I wasn't there. I don't work. I don't live in Georgia. I'm just sharing what my understanding was is they were investigating her behavior of reallocating money when she didn't have the authority to do it.
Yeah,
okay.
maybe I'm just not seeing that anywhere. I don't see anybody. Um, I think that like it seems like the oversight is just saying they called it the Wild West. They say they don't have to report back to how the money was spent, who was hired as an independent contractor. I don't see anything about what you're talking about. So
Yeah,
if you
it's
find it, you
not.
can
I
send it to
don't
me. But
believe
this
it's
is it's
illegal
news to
criminally.
me.
Like, if you're saying it's illegal criminally in Georgia, then you would have to show me that because from all understanding I've ever had of like district attorneys, right? That's an elected position. Or Fulton County. What is she? Is she's the district attorney of or
She's
whatever?
Fulton County
District
DA.
attorney.
Fulton County DA. Yeah. So that is an elected office, and it comes with a budget, and you allocate it like how you see fit. That's why you answer to the voters, right? Like if you're spending funds on a case they don't want you to, then you wouldn't be reelected. Versus, like it's like Alvin Bragg or Letitia James. Like Trump always says, like they ran on getting Trump. That's because I lived in Manhattan. Like they elected them specifically because yes, people in Manhattan like have an axe to grind with Donald Trump over his constant fraudulent business practices. Like when you're in an elected position, you do the work of the people. And actually during that evidentiary hearing, and I'll find it here, and I went over it on here. I went over the whole ruling of the judge to keep Fani Willis on the case and the mindset behind that. Oh God, I just lost my train of thought. But but the article opened again so I could continue reading. Sorry, I clicked on an ad and it went away. Let me how much did DA Willis, this is, how much did DA Fani Willis spend in 2023? In the approved budget, see, she has a budget. That's what I'm saying. Elected offices, you come with a budget. Funding for the DA's office is marked just over 36.6 million. That comes at about 200,000 lower than what the DA's office actually spent in 2023. So I think maybe the claim is that she overspent by $200,000. Commissioner Dana Barrett commented that the criminal justice sector needs more funding and public scandals should not impact those decisions. There's headlines right now, and there's all this salacious stuff going around, and a lot of conversations about the DA. And over the past year, the sheriff and the jail, exclaimed Barrett. We'd be remiss if we use our budget as a means of punishment. So I think they're debating whether, like, to fund the office. Fulton County, sorry, next thing. And then this is about the next section of this article says Fulton County Commissioner Bob Ellis writes letter to Fani Willis. Meanwhile, Commissioner Bob Ellis is focusing on past funds. Oh, maybe this is what it is. He sent a letter to Willis demanding transparency on how she spent county funds while prosecuting Trump. Specifically, he narrowed in on Willis's alleged romantic relationship with Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade. These were fairly straightforward requests with any elected official who was entrusted with public funds who should supply that information back. Ellis, a Republican, says the inquiry into Willis, who is a Democrat, is nonpartisan. We're talking about numbers. This is the quote from Ellis. We're talking about numbers. We're talking about dollars. We're talking about facts, said Ellis. We're not talking partisan. We're not talking race. We're talking about citizens' money and where it is being used in the way it was intended. So that's all I can find. That's that entire article.
Okay, I'm looking at a couple news articles that are just like 40,000-foot views of investigating Fani for those things. But I mean, there's no reference to any statutes or anything. It's just
Yeah, and congressional like subcommittees, like I was saying, it kind of mirrors what our Congress is doing. They can subpoena and investigate, but other than like lying under oath or like contempt, like they don't have much. It's not, they can make referrals then to the DOJ. So I think what's fair is to say there's going to be an investigation. It seems like it's about the district attorney's county budget, where that money went, and it's similar to what they did with Joe Biden, right? They didn't have a crime they had in mind or evidence of it. They just wanted all the financial records, right? And then they were going to sort of reverse engineer or cross your fingers and hope they find that smoking gun of here's how we connect Joe Biden to Hunter Biden's business dealings. Now that day never came, and that's why creating a congressional committee and having a conclusion like Fani Willis is corrupt, and then subpoenaing every bank record, all of this stuff to reverse engineer the case against her is a bit shady. Like we saw that what happened in the U.S. Congress. But it sounds like, I mean, when the state legislature investigates, then they can make criminal referrals to the DOJ at that time.
Yeah, I'm not super familiar with the statutes. It was just my understanding that there was a point where Fani had redirected funds. I can't remember the exact number. I think it was like $2 or $2.3 million. And I'm stating this based off a recollection of watching those hearings. So it's not like I have an article I can share with you. I was just watching the hearings, but I thought it was like $2 or $2.3 million that was redirected from an appropriation for the prosecution of the murder trials and violent offenders and things like that. That was redirected over to whatever
Well, I
whatever
see
the
what you're
election
saying,
money
but
was.
like the testimony that it keeps being like in I've just been reading article after article after article. It seems like that's the Republicans' claim that she didn't that she had no right to do that. But everybody that's testifying that's actually like that's from the state, they're all saying, well, she does. And it seems like what they're complaining about is a lack of oversight, but they're not really they don't get that oversight. They're not granted that oversight. And so there may be a problem in Georgia. I think that I definitely think there should be oversight for the district attorney, but it seems like that's what they're complaining about more than anything. It's just that she doesn't have to give them oversight. And
Yeah,
if there's no oversight, I don't know how the person in charge of the funds can like misuse funds, picking and choosing where the funds go on which case. That's literally their job. It's not like every case gets the same amount of money, right?
yeah. Again, it is my understanding that the appropriations made for the DA's office, the appropriations are made in category. So she doesn't just get a blanket budget that encompasses her entire budget for specific or for any and all purposes she deems fit. My understanding, and
Okay,
I
well,
could
you
be
have to
wrong
cite
here.
a source. Like we that's the point. Like
I mean, those are
I personally just read 3 articles. I don't know how many Jay read, but if there's a statute or some sort of law or something you can cite, like in the criminal code of Georgia that says if a
well,
DA, like there's
I don't think
buckets
that.
for the budget and if they
Yeah,
move money between buckets, then there's a crime, then this would be the time to sort of present that.
I don't. I'll look it up. I'll look it up real quick. But
Yeah.
I don't think it's a matter of it being a criminal offense. It's a matter of a commerce code. It's a matter of the um, the what is the code? Not the commerce
Okay,
code, but
but it's
the
like you're
government procedure.
implying
It's
that
a
she
government
did something
procedural code.
illegal. So you're saying like
No, no,
unethical?
no, 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 no.
Are
I'm just
you
saying that there are rules in appropriating money in Georgia, and I'm going to look them up right now. But I'm saying that the statement was made that the appropriations were made, and there are buckets of money for specific purposes. And Fani took money out of bucket B to put it in bucket A because she wanted to use the money. And it is my understanding, according to those appropriation rules of the state, is that the DA doesn't have the authority to do that. I'm gonna
Yeah,
Google it real quick.
just if you find it, come back. Like I'm not. We're not saying you're necessarily wrong, but like I can't find it anywhere. I've went through articles, Twitter. I don't see anybody even making that claim. So maybe you're right, but for whatever reason, it's not being reported by anybody. And
if the
again, going
listen, if you were right, like just think about it, and she had done that, and there was some sort of statute that said, oh, the budget, the DA's budget, she can't do that. Every single news we would hear about this, there would be a million articles if they had something like that on Fani Willis. They already did. They threw everything at the wall during that evidentiary hearing, of which I never missed a second of, and I didn't hear what you're saying. So that's the other thing that's hard for me because I watched every second of that live coverage and I never heard it. So yeah, if you can find an article and stuff, we'll get more into it. But I do think the Senate committee, that what they're going to be doing is an investigation to try to make it look like she misappropriated funds or whatnot. But yeah, like I just think if there was something concrete, I just can't believe we wouldn't have heard about it over and over.
Okay. Yeah, I pulled up the Georgia General Assembly government code. I'll scroll through here real quick, see if I can find it. I'll drop down, let you guys move on, and I'll come back up if I can find it.
Okay.
All right. Thanks a bunch.
And if anyone else has anything, like just let us know in the chat. But
whoops, I was muted. I can't find anything about that, but it's clear what's happening here. As I read through those, all of these initial looks into Fani Willis have come by in fact, a lot of this was done by public records requests from Tom Fitton, who doesn't have an
yeah,
axe to grind. He totally isn't there trying to
fake
just
Trump lawyer Tom Fitton, who records himself like, God, Tom Fitton.
again, like I appreciate oversight. I don't have a problem with people looking in to the district
Sure.
attorneys and attorney general. Like that's fine by me. But just remember that every time Donald Trump has smeared one of these people, it has turned out that what he smeared them for, they didn't do every time. But you guys still hate them. MAGA still hates them. MAGA decides that whatever Donald Trump says is true. Then they go to court. There's a ruling, and they're like, nah, I don't agree with the ruling. I don't agree with the facts. I just agree with Donald Trump. That's what's difficult about arguing politics or anything, just facts with Trump people, is that they get to pick and choose what facts they care about, what facts are, and which facts they're going to believe. And if a fact is inconvenient, we just push it to the side and we move on with our day.
And like the other thing is to say like, oh, there's buckets, like violent crime is one. Well, like Rico, I argue, I think Rico takes precedent. Like this case, if you're going to allocate funds anywhere, like shouldn't it be in a Rico case? Like it doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't really make any sense. But it's the Republicans grasping at straws. I remember the first time I heard Trump say that Fonnie Willis was sleeping with a prosecutor. Like that was way before anyone said anything. Like Trump had obviously done Oppo research and heard the rumor, but didn't have it confirmed. Like months and months went by from the first time he said it till it gained any actual traction. Like, so I just say that to say the point of like Republicans are actively investigating now. This is not going to start when the Senate committee like
Right. Yeah.
convenes their investigation. He has private security firms combing through every area of this woman's life. If he can't find anything at all, we will hear about it immediately. I promise you, true or not true. He throws it all at the wall and hopes something sticks. Like that is the literal legal strategy, or one of his legal strategies. That's why I'm saying if we're Googling and you can't find like the explanation, like that usually says something, because any conspiracy theory, even the unproven ones, you get like a fact check coming up. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
Yeah. That. Yeah. Let us know if you guys find something. We'll move on. He said a rapper at first. Who said a rapper?
New York case. Meanwhile, simultaneously, this weekend, the former president hosted a high dollar fundraiser at his home in Florida, in which he, unbidden, brought up the federal prosecutor who's overseeing his classified documents Espionage Act prosecution in Florida, and also his overthrow the government case in Washington, D.C. According to a recording of those proceedings reviewed by NBC News, Trump said at this fundraiser, quote, deranged Jack Smith, one of the sickest prosecutors in the world, the sick, evil thug. Take a look at the deranged. And he's perfect because you look at him. He's not attractive, both inside and out. I mean, you couldn't get a better guy if you're trying to make.
The projection is so intense. Like, I mean, this is what Freud talks about when he talks about projection. This is Trump literally describing himself
He's not even hot.
unwittingly. Like the subconscious is a strange and fascinating thing. Like projection is almost involuntary. Everything Trump hates about himself, he just shot at Jack Smith.
Listen, I don't know that I'm the greatest judge, but I just remember early on when Jack Smith showed up, I just remember the comments that,
He's
like
hot.
from everybody, like
Jack
God
Smith's
damn.
hot.
Yeah.
Physically, and like his intelligence level just puts it over the top. I think
I just
well,
like that
anyone
Trump
can
is.
vote. Men, women, if you think Jack Smith is objectively right, like we're not talking about our person. Just if you think he's objectively good looking, put a one in the chat.
Yeah. I like that people see you'll get your facts from MSNBC. Just so you know, like this is just you rejecting stories. Like how many times do we have to show you that this is what you guys do? Everybody reported this. This is wildly reported. But again, if you see something you don't like, your first reaction, whoever that was that said that, your first reaction is to figure out a way not to believe what you're hearing. And what you settled on is MSNBC. That's what you settled on. Like, be better than that. Be better than it. This is how you get conditioned. This is how you wind up believing dumb shit. This is how people take advantage of you. Be better.
Well, and let me just let me just do like get into like what Jay's saying into the so when he's saying this not outside of just being combative, right? Like that is the truth. Just understand it when you start saying, "Oh, it came from MSNBC. I can't watch that." You are literally pigeonholing yourself. Like if you're interested in making sure that there's no unbiased media. All media is biased. What you need to do is watch both sides of media, or like watch it and then you find additional sources, right? Like these are secondary sources. Journalism, while there's supposed to be integrity in it, it's largely been lost. But then what you want to do is when you hear references to things like she's using the direct transcript, which is great, but then you double check. Then you go to what we call in research primary sources and you cross reference. You don't stop watching media outlets because that just puts you in an information silo. Like you want to have a broad array of media that you ingest, and then those are secondary sources. Look for primary ones to back those claims up with. And if you do this enough, then you will realize which sources are more reputable, which ones less, right? Like that. I mean, that's the process that you need to go through. Yay, you're back.
Hey, okay, so I was wrong. I conflated two things together.
You're such a nice guy. I'm following you. We never get this.
So
Police
I
loves you now.
misunderstood. I misunderstood. It wasn't that the money was appropriated for the violent offenders. It was that Fani requested additional funding to support additional staff in her office. The appropriation, or she when she submitted the application for the money, she submitted the application for additional help in the office for the purpose of addressing the backlog in her office of violent offenders. The appropriations were made, approved, and granted to her, and that is one subject. Completely separate from that, the thing that she did where she did not follow the code was that she employed a special counsel without the county approval, which by the statutes of Georgia, she's required to have the county approval for the compensation of that person.
So that was one of the
Those are two
claims I
completely
was.
separate things.
Yeah, that was one of the claims I was looking at, and the response to that was that statute only applies to assistant district attorneys. They need approval, and that's like the statute was being applied by Republicans incorrectly, and that it only applies to assistant district attorneys.
Um, let me.
I could go back and find that, but
Yeah, I was gonna say if you
Yeah,
if
yeah,
you
let me go
happen
back.
to find.
It's Georgia Code Title 15, Chapter
Let's do this.
18.
Wait, is Georgia Code what? 15?
Georgia Code Title 15, Chapter 18, Article 1.
Let's see.
I think I got it.
It's additional personnel as state employees is the code, universal citation.
Additional.
I'm seeing district attorney as successor to solicitor general. What was it? So criminal 15-18-1, is that what it is?
Yeah, 15-18-20.
20. Okay. That's what
Oh, -20. Okay, that's
There
why.
we go. The district
Additional.
attorney in each judicial circuit may employ such additional assistant district attorneys, deputy district attorneys, or other attorneys, investigators, paraprofessionals, clerical assistants, victim and witness assistance personnel, and other employees or independent contractors as may be provided for by local law or as may be authorized by the governing authority of the county or counties comprising the judicial circuit. The district attorney shall define the duties and fix the title of any attorney or other employee of the district attorney's office. Personnel employed by the district attorney pursuant to this code shall serve at the pleasure of the district attorney and shall be compensated by the county or counties comprising the judicial court. The manner and amount of compensation to be paid to be fixed either by local act or by the district attorney with the approval of the county or counties comprising the judicial circuit.
So
Is that for additional personnel for district attorney's office? That's not what mine says. Notwithstanding any other provision of law, the governing authority of any county or municipality within the judicial circuit, which provides additional personnel for the office of district attorney, may contract with the prosecuting attorney's council of the state of Georgia to provide such additional personnel in the same manner as is provided for state paid personnel in this article. Any such personnel shall be considered state employees and shall be entitled to the same fringe benefits as other state paid personnel employed by the district attorney pursuant to this article. The governing authority of such county or municipality shall transfer to the council such funds as may be necessary to cover compensation, benefits, travel, and other expenses for such personnel.
which sub article is that?
That's Article 1 -15 -18 -20.1.
Okay, I don't have that one. Hold on one second.
Here-
I guess that's just the continuation. That's the next portion after subsection B, which is requiring of the county approval. Again, So I was wrong in my statement earlier. The appropriation process for addressing the backlog was one matter, and then not going through the county approval of paying whoever her additional help was and setting that rate was a separate issue.
To me, this is
Oh,
coming
I
off
want to
like,
say
yeah.
something. I
Oh, go
remember
ahead.
now. Like you're saying this, you found a statute that says special prosecutor. Nathan Wade's not a special prosecutor. He's not contracted as one. He's just contracted as an attorney.
Oh no,
And
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that he was.
I mean,
I'm
or
just.
special
I'm.
counsel. Did I say prosecutor? I thought you said that if the district attorney wanted to hire a special counsel, they needed approval. Like this is like Nathan Wade was a contracted regular lawyer who got like a well under like 200, I think it's less than 250 an hour, which like the average lawyer makes like, much more than that. So
Right. I'm not. I'm not making any statement contrary to that. I suppose in section A it says anybody who is an assistant district attorney, deputy district attorney. I mean, it's even got investigators, paraprofessionals, clerical assistants, victim and witness assistant personnel, and other employees. It's not necessarily specific to a special prosecutor or an assistant district attorney. It seems as though it's encompassing a great.
yeah, any sort
Yeah.
of person they hire essentially.
So, but just to go back on what I'd said earlier, I was mistaken and I conflated the two things together. They were separate.
And
Great.
so, okay, cool. So the Senate is going, yeah, so the Senate committee is just looking into the funds, which is what they have the right to do.
I think they're, in one of the articles I read, I think it was Fox 5, which is local news there in Georgia. Somebody had made a statement. We just need to see if we need to enact more provisions to create oversight so that misappropriating money can't be done in the future. So again, that's part
Fair
of
enough.
subject A, not,
Yeah, like
orange
I
man
would.
bad.
Yeah, I would say that this has everything to do with Trump, but that's just
100%.
my opinion. I do not think the Republican state legislator of Georgia is going to do anything except for exactly what Trump wants. Like I think their track record is horrific. This investigation was kind of already done. Like Jim Jordan already subpoenaed these documents in February. They've been going after Fonnie Willis from the very moment she brought charges against Trump. And I like that to me, when you look at it, is that not weaponization of the government? Like every time somebody charges Trump, the Republicans in Congress go after that person. They go and immediately investigate that person and make public statements about that person and hold press conferences about that person. Like, just think about this. Like, if you were watching this, let's say this was happening in Italy right now, and you didn't have a dog in the fight, and you're looking at somebody who has all these criminal trials, and every time somebody charges them with a crime, and they have evidence, one wing of the government shows up, holds press conferences, holds hearings, but they don't ever bring any charges, right?
Well, yeah, that's by
Yeah.
definition, that's the definition of a political hit job. That's how you do it.
Yeah, and that's what, like, this weaponization shit that Republicans keep saying. It's just a self-report. There is no evidence that the Department of Justice or the government is weaponized against Donald Trump, but there is overwhelming evidence that the Republicans are weaponizing the government to protect Donald Trump.
For
Sure, but
example, the Hunter
go ahead. I'm
Biden
sorry.
stuff, like think about the Hunter Biden stuff. He sent a cease and desist to Fox, 2 weeks ago, and basically said take all this stuff down, which largely all this stuff has finally been debunked. We know that this is Russian misinformation, disinformation, but the problem is the rule of law is already it's already tainted, it's already damaged. Joe Biden's credibility has been damaged. Like that's the problem with doing this. And eventually, yeah, the evidence came out. We know, I mean, I know because I spend all my days following politics. I would say the average person in America does not know that impeachment inquiry wasn't valid. But that's the point, because now they've done it. Steve Bannon literally said it. We want to make sure it's a choice between two criminals. If they're going to make Trump a criminal, we have to make Biden look like a criminal. So those two things cancel themselves out.
Which they have done quite a job at, haven't they? I suppose my question
Yeah,
remains that
except for none of the evidence is real against Joe Biden.
But that's
They've
the point.
tried
It
hard.
doesn't
Yeah.
have to be real.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be real. The damage has been done. Like Fox responded to that cease. Fox publicly says like, "Oh, like we haven't responded." They may not have answered Hunter Biden's attorney, but every single thing in that cease and desist he demanded they take down is down. If you haven't noticed, have you heard a word on Fox News about Hunter Biden? No,
well, yeah,
because they're
for
scared.
sure. But just for funsies, I mean, Fox News isn't news. It's just an entertainment company. Remember?
Well,
Well,
I
that's what
know
they argue
that.
sometimes. Yeah, but you're still not allowed to libel people. You're still not allowed to take people's personal information and broadcast it.
Yeah, not with that attitude for sure.
Stupid. That made me laugh.
But you like we're on the same page though that like I hear what you're saying. I know the Republicans do it, but we agree that it's not just the Republicans that do it. Like all political opponents do it to each other.
No,
Do you just
I
you disagree
highly
with that?
disagree. Yeah, highly. I mean, you'd have to give me an example of something like this that the Democrats did. I'm sure there's one in the history books. I'm sure it's happened, but recent history, no. I can't think of an investigation that was opened by Democrats that was just fake, phony, full of lies.
Let me say something really quick. Guys, tap the screen, keep tapping the screen. If you guys have a question or a message for us, you can donate and we will read them aloud during this period, as long as it doesn't get us banned from the internet. So anything that won't get our live taken down, we will read. And then share the live. We're taking opposition. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, I would just I mean I would disagree with you that the Democrats don't do it.
What would you use in his example?
Um, well, there's a long list, in my opinion. Um, any C-SPAN broadcasting over the last 8 years would be a good example I could pull from. But I mean, I'll use Harry Reid as an example from being the majority leader in the Senate when um, Romney was running for president. He stood on the Senate floor and lied about Romney and said he never paid his taxes when he was actively running for president.
Right, but we're
And
talking about
uh,
investigations, right? Not just comments. That, like, I would agree with you that there have been Democrats who've lied. I worked on Romney's campaign at the time, and I know that Harry Reid admitted that that was a lie. I agree with you there, but we're talking about like investigations, or committees put
okay,
together
well,
to go after lies.
that's fair enough. I'll retract the assertion if I made it that we're talking about actual investigations. I was referring in my mind when I made that statement to the political theater of lobbing verbal rockets at the opposition for the purpose of creating doubt in their, you know,
Yeah, I agree that
that
happens. Yeah.
that's what I was referring to. I wasn't trying to assert that. Oh well, the
But
Democrats they just bring up.
then you must recognize that there is a party right now who is willing to do and say anything and lie about anything, and one that is not.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
I
a
would.
disproportionate amount of lies, right?
I agree that both sides do it. Whether one does it more than the other, I don't personally, I don't make a distinction. Orange Man
Wait,
is just
why?
as bad, and
It's
Why don't you make
crazy.
it? Why don't you
because
make a distinction between what somebody says and then them using their authority to go after a political opponent? Like, there's a
I,
difference between saying something and creating a committee and holding public hearings with either fake evidence or non-evidence or evidence that's not relevant, all in an attempt to smear a political opponent. How do you not see that only one party does that?
again, I will to make sure that I'm clear. I'm not speaking specifically and as a qualifier to a party that is bringing the allegation via some sort of investigation through a subcommittee or something like that. I'm just talking about making statements in public for the public to view, to observe,
Right.
because
No,
it
I get
plants
that.
the.
I get what you're saying. I understand. And I'm saying that I agree with you. We've agreed on that. But now we talk about the actual weaponization, the actual attempts by these people in government to go after political opponents and use the tools at their disposal to go after these. Only one party does it. That's where we have a problem. Like, I wish people would not lie. That would be great. But what I don't like is a 3-day hearing with 10 hours a day of Republicans lying about Joe Biden, pretending he's running some like big crime syndicate, spending millions of dollars of taxpayers' money for something from the very start they knew wasn't true.
Well, sure, RTP, but don't you think that all of the Trump supporters have in their mind that the Democrats did the same thing
Yeah, but
with
they're wrong.
impeachment
I don't
hearings?
care what they think. They're wrong. There were 34 indictments with the Mueller investigation. How many indictments came from a single one from any of these Republican investigations? How many?
I'm not making an assertion other
I am.
than
I'm making that assertion.
I
Because you said,
understand
don't
that.
you think Republicans think that? Yes, they think that. They're wrong.
Okay, what I'm saying is don't you think that the Republicans' perspective of the behavior, because they're not worried about the indictments that you're talking about, that in their mind, the only thing they are focusing on is this news source told me that this behavior over here is personal prosecution of Trump. That's all they hear, and they don't understand the peripheral damage that's done through all those indictments. What I'm saying is that don't you agree that that damage is done on Trump's side despite the indictments that people aren't paying attention to of all the peripheral people around him? I hear what you're saying. I don't disagree with you. I am pointing to the fact that the Mueller report went on as long as it did. I mean, yeah, we can
Yeah, it
really get
takes a
in the
long
weeds
time
there.
when everybody you're investigating is lying to you and hiding things and
Yeah, it
trying to
takes a long.
protect Donald Trump. Yeah, it took a long time.
The ink bill in the special prosecutor's office was probably real high. I get it. I'm
Yeah,
just
that's why we shouldn't elect. That's why we're being vocal right now. That hey, you know this criminal that you guys want to prop up again and make president. Maybe we don't do that. Maybe not. Maybe we don't do criminals for president anymore.
And I just want to say, like, just to a quick couple sentences, I just, as a historical researcher, like, the number one thing that triggers me is like my intelligence being insulted. And I spend all day long following politics. I think I could probably, I'd say I do it more than anyone else. I think it's unhealthy how much I follow politics. And I could tell you that Democrats aren't in the media spewing lies. If they were, then I would start hating them. I cannot stand being lied to. I'm constantly fact checking things. To sit there and say, even outside of the weaponization of the government, which I think is egregious by the Republicans, but the lying is disproportionate. Like the amount of times a day my intelligence is insulted by Republicans, that blatant lies, that they go on and do an interview that is blatant lies, is nonstop. I mean, it's every single day, all day long. The talking points are lies.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm with you. I'm just what I was pointing. What I intended to point to is the perspective behind the mindset that doesn't necessarily understand the details.
Oh
I'm not
yeah,
trying to say that there's no
100%.
merit to it. I'm
Okay,
pointing
I get
to
it now. I'm
the
sorry. I get you.
perspective. No, I'm with you. I mean, and look at it. I
Well,
hear
because
what you're saying.
perceived persecution, we were just talking, or we were watching a live with a woman who's like used to be in a cult and then went into the US military. She was talking about control groups. And one of the things I totally agree with that goes to what you're saying is perceived persecution is just as real as real persecution. And people like to hate when I say that, but it's true. Whether, like, I agree with you, MAGA believes they're being persecuted, so it is true. They believe that Donald Trump is being persecuted, so that is their real personal experience and their perspective. Like, that's also goes to General Milley. He said that. Like, I want to understand white rage, I that's why I'm reading about it. Like, I'm not part of it. I don't get it, but I need to understand like what is making people do this. Because yeah, like we can say it's illogical, they're wrong, they're lies, but like I agree with you. We have to validate that mindset and earn the right to have these conversation with because that is their reality.
Yeah. I mean, and I would, yes, I agree with you. And, I don't know what your perspective is, but my perspective is that's more so of a human nature attribute, no matter what your belief system is, no matter whether you're right or left, no matter who you follow in Congress, it doesn't matter. That's a human nature attribute. So I would just make the argument, while I agree with what you're saying, I would make the argument that it's important, in my opinion, when it involves Trump, to keep in mind that there's a lot of people who follow Trump that they have witnessed something at some point that has caused them to question everything in a specific perspective, and from that point on, everything else is discredited. I mean, look at the Lisa Page and
Cognitive dissonance.
I agree with you, but again, I would argue that's a double-edged sword, because the reality is that at this point, I mean,
I think
the
you're
amount.
afraid to. I think you're afraid to admit that one party is significantly dumber and misinformed. That's what it honestly feels like. Like you keep trying to play this both sides thing, but it's not.
Well,
One side operates like a cult. One side doesn't.
RTP, we could go into the weeds in that. I'm just saying that I think, and this is my opinion, I think that you might deal with one side of it more than the other, and I'm just saying that I
Yeah,
deal with
maybe,
the other
maybe,
side, and
but
I'm.
like you're not giving me any. We've given you instance after instance after instance, and you have been unable to provide a single instance on the left, and you keep trying to play both sides as them. I understand that it's nice to be a fence sitter, where people view you as somebody who can see both sides, but one side is a goddamn fairy tale, and one side is reality. I don't give people credit for being like, oh well, I understand the Republican side. There's some I get what they're saying. No, then those facts would line up. You would be able to show on the left that they're doing the same thing, but they're not. Like I have no patience for cult members. And by the way, cult members who you're given like are given a leash to act like cult members, be like, well, it's just their beliefs. That always ends badly every time. It doesn't end well because they'll never stop believing their fairy tale, and their fairy tale has to keep expanding in order to keep up with current events. And this fairy tale is Donald Trump's crimes being exposed over and over and over, and them pretending that doesn't exist, and that this is all some conspiracy theory for George Soros and world domination and some massive agenda. Yet, no, this both sidesism shit doesn't work for me right now. There's one side doesn't live in reality.
Well, while I don't share that perspective, what I
What
do
percent?
believe.
Well, let me ask you this: what
Well,
percentage of Republicans do you think believe that the 2020 election was legitimate?
that's not what I'm getting at,
I
RTP.
know, but I'm asking
What
you
I'm
that.
getting at, is that, and I hear what you're
Tap the
saying. I
screen,
understand that
guys.
what you're saying is true. I don't disagree with you. What I'm saying is I am just, I'm just making the point that you and we're on the same team. Like, we are both Americans. And I get that there are people who are ignorant of facts and they are unwilling to accept proof. Like, I get that, and I agree with you. I'm not trying to both sides it. We're having a conversation right now about something specific. I'm again, I'll state it again. That's a human condition. It's not a political idea. It's not exclusive to a political ideology.
Right now, it is. But I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, of course it is. Of course it is. Like the right now, they're becoming Christian nationalists. Like they believe in two fairy tales. They have their religious beliefs, and then they also have the beliefs that Donald Trump is not a criminal and that none of these facts that they're seeing are real. Like I'm sorry. Like I just feel like you're softening this for people on the right, and this kind of apathy doesn't help.
I'm softening what? What am I softening?
You keep talking about, well, it's both sides, and it's everybody does it, and I just looking at them like, yeah, they're a little confused, but this is real people's lives now we're talking about. This is the lives, the medical care of women
Yeah,
all over this
women,
country.
people with
This is religious freedom all over this country. This is freedom of speech all over this country. This is the ability to identify how you wish to all over this country. The attacks coming from the Christian right, where they believe in two simultaneous fairy tales, one of which where Donald Trump is a Christian, which is insane. Like, no, I can give no safe harbor for those types of thoughts. I don't, people should not think that those thoughts and those beliefs are legitimate. They're not.
I, I I'm not trying to make an argument that one is equally as evil as the other. The only statement I made was that the behavior of ignoring facts in your face, that is a human condition. Some people learn to regulate it and some people don't. That was the only argument that I made.
I actually don't agree with that. I think that's conditioning. I think that that is something that people are
Yeah, he
conditioned
said
to
human
do.
condition. Like it is, human conditions are
Are you
conditioning,
saying
right?
like with all
Yeah,
humans?
human
That's
conditions are is conditioning. That's
yeah.
what
Like I
he.
think people can be conditioned that way, but I don't think it's like human nature. Maybe I misunderstood what you were saying.
Yeah, again, I'm not saying that it's. Look, I get it. In my opinion, and this is just my opinion, I think that everyone has their convictions, everyone has their beliefs, as they should. I'm with you. Like, we need both sides. We have to have opposing views. If we don't have opposing views, all we have is extremism one
But
direction.
wait, we don't need opposing views if those views are fairy tales, if they are
I
not
didn't.
real.
I didn't say
Yeah.
that.
Well, but
I'm
that's what
not.
we have right now. When you say like this why I think we're getting confused because you keep saying like everybody has their views and we need both. No, we don't. We do not need lies. We do not need fairy tales.
I agree with you. What do you
Okay,
think?
so
What do
then
you think
so
the majority of the origin of those things are, though? Like in your normal everyday American's life, what do you think the origin of those lies is? Like, how does it come into their life, in your opinion?
religion.
I'm talking about. Are we not talking about politics?
Yeah, I think people are conditioned with their religion to believe in things that are not factual, to believe in things that they cannot prove. And when you're conditioned to believe that, which is a very anti-scientific position, believing in the Bible is a very anti-scientific belief. And you're conditioned from the very beginning of your life to ignore science, to ignore data, to ignore facts, and believe what makes you feel good.
Okay, I just want to make
Does
sure
does
that
it
I
not
understand.
to you does it not make sense that the party that is the most religious is the one that tells the most lies and the ones that believe the dumbest things is any like have you drawn that connection?
Like blind faith is dangerous, right? Belief is dangerous. It requires no proof, no evidence, like no fact check, no double blind study. Like that, it is very dangerous. The foundation of religion, coupled with authoritarian rule that we grow up inside households, is a recipe for disaster.
In the
Yeah,
GOP,
sure.
you are incentivized to have blind faith. You become more popular the more disconnected from reality you get. The biggest leaders on the right, they're all completely disconnected from reality. They're all talking religion. They're all talking beliefs. They say things as if they're facts, like God grants us our rights. What? Who is God? Like who is that? They won't even accept our constitution as the government saying like here are your rights. They're saying these are God-given rights. Right? But people don't even nobody can even prove that God exists. When you're conditioned when that is your politics, you will virtually believe anything as long as it benefits you. And that's what we found out when Donald Trump took over is these people might not have believed such dangerous things before, but only because their leaders weren't saying dangerous things. What was exposed with Donald Trump is if you put a leader in charge of the Republicans and that leader lies and is corrupt at every turn, they will not care because they believe in the Republican Party. They believe they are on the right side. So all these inconvenient facts they're able to brush aside. And I'm sorry, I just don't think that exists on the left right now.
Okay. Well, look, I mean, that's fine. I'll make this assertion in response to that. The people on the right who are rejecting the things that you're referencing, I agree with you. They're being rejected. I don't disagree with you. But I will point out that years of things have happened. There have been the Adam Schiff, the Democratic run investigations and different things
Adam
with.
Schiff has done nothing wrong.
I didn't say that he did. I'm pointing out that Adam Schiff led investigation where no Republicans were involved in the conversation, and those
Two
conversations.
Republicans were involved, Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger.
Are you talking about the first impeachment?
He's
Well,
talking about the
if we're talking about
impeachment.
impeachment, Republicans were involved. That's how like
Uh,
these impeachment hearings happen in the House. What are you talking about? They were involved.
I'm talking about the original investigations. That
Which ones?
hold on, hold on 1 second. Let me come back to that. My point is that people are witnessing those things through the lens of what their media provider is feeding them. So the conditioning that they're receiving, I am going to argue, is largely because of the media content they're consuming. And my point is that that is true on both sides of the
But I
aisle, where
disagree
there's
with
not a
that.
middle.
But I disagree with that because their conditioning is what allows them to believe stupid things. Right? The
Sure, I mean,
conditioning is what allows them to be that way. Yes, they're going to largely get their information from wherever they get their information. But if for example, like I watch Majority Report fairly often, if Sam Cedar started saying things that would just weren't true, I'd stop listening. There's a lot of people on the left I stopped listening to when I noticed that they had stopped doing their research and they were now just going down like political lines. And I do think those people, when they've started not telling the truth on the left, they lose viewers. Go look at the Young Turks. Go look what happened to the Young Turks when they started trying to play this both sidesism, when they started sounding a little bit anti-trans, when they started sounding a little bit like they were anti-Israel, and they started putting out statements and facts that weren't based in truth. They were based in their feeling, and they lost viewers. But on the right, if you start saying that shit, you gain viewers. You get more popular. It's the exact opposite. Like these are literally two polar opposite parties. And not because of like what they want for the country, but because of what they're willing to believe.
and I 100% agree with you on that point. I am referencing the people who are that fit into the category that you are describing. They have watched the Mueller investigation. They have watched the collusion, the Peter Strzok, the Lisa Page, all of that stuff that took place. They have watched all of that go down. And in my mind, this is my opinion. At that point, people turned their brains off to anything else the news media had to say negative about Trump, because it was revealed through those things that there were people that were lying. Just like
No,
you
it
said,
wasn't. Wait, no, there wasn't.
Peter Strzok and Lisa Page didn't lie.
About what? About their personal relationship?
About their involvement in the the peddling of information and their
They weren't
involvement
involved. The
in.
involvement in peddling information. The argument with Peter Strzok, the whole thing with Peter Strzok, is that there's text messages between him and Lisa Page where she's like, they're worried, they're openly worried about Donald Trump becoming president, and she's like, he's not really going to be president, right? And Carter, or not Carter Page, what was his name again? Peter Strzok was like, no, we're not going to let that happen. And then it happened. He didn't have any ability. He was just talking tough. Like that is not a big issue for me. It's honestly not. I don't honestly care if somebody in the FBI thinks that Donald Trump would be a shitty leader. That's fine by me. What you then need to show is corruption. And when we saw with Peter Strzok, like, was there corruption? I don't know. Can you name any corruption? Anything, any laws he actually broke? No. He just said something in a private text message, clearly trying to make himself seem more powerful than he was,
Yeah,
and he
he's
didn't
like
fulfill any of that.
Petraeus. He's like Petraeus and that
Yeah.
girl that he's like, look at these classified documents.
Idiot.
Like me more.
God, that guy's an idiot.
Yeah, he's the worst of the worst. Like, yeah, it says I have an article up. Like, if anyone's interested, this is a pretty good one. NPR, Peter Strzok, notorious ex-G man, explains himself and takes aim at Trump. Yeah, he's actually a correspondent on some news stations now. So it says investigators recovered 9,311 messages from Strzok's phone and 10,760 from Page's. This material provided critics of the FBI and the Russia inquiry with sensational ammunition in their years-long campaign to counterattack by tearing down federal law enforcement. Peter Strzok acknowledges transgressions in the book, says that he wants to spare his family and focus more on his job, blah, blah, blah. Having said that, just because something might be allowed doesn't necessarily make it wise or prudent, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, like, I mean, essentially, he paid the price for his improprieties.
Again, I'm not saying that he didn't. My point is that people on the far right witnessed those things that took place. They witnessed how they were characterized by the media that they consume. And what I'm saying is a lot of people's mind turned off to the idea that Trump could do anything wrong. That's all I'm saying. I'm not
I
saying they're
agree.
right. I'm not saying they're right. I'm
I
just saying that
know. I'm just saying
that's
I
where it
agree with
started.
I agree with that. Yeah, I mean
I
for
agree.
sure.
The
The
what we're
yeah,
saying is we think it's for a different reason. You think it's because of just the news they consume. I think it's bigger than that. I think it has to do with
100%.
conditioning throughout your life to believe lies or to believe things that aren't true. The difference between our opinion is that you think that would happen to somebody who was raised to see things factually, right? Not to not believe fairy tales. Those people are far more likely to reject even somebody they like coming up and telling stories that obviously aren't true. But if you're conditioned to believe that all the animals in the world lived on one boat while God flooded the earth and that didn't happen, then yeah, you might be able to believe that there's a conspiracy against Donald Trump and that all these Marxist communists want to destroy our country and Donald Trump is the only thing standing in their way and that's why they're so hell-bent on beating him. When the reality is we don't think that at all. We think he's corrupt and we think he lies and he exposed that the GOP is literally just a bunch of sheep. Even the elected leaders, they do whatever the fuck he tells them to do. That doesn't happen in the Democrat Party. So all I'm showing you is that like there's something besides news that gets people to believe things that aren't true, and I think it's conditioning. It's why I'm openly against honesty. Like I think the world's a better place if all religion went away tomorrow. I think the world would be a better place.
Yeah, and any different intelligence levels, I just want to say, can definitely be indoctrinated into cults, right? Like intelligent people can, as well as, or, whatever. Let's say people that spend, whatever. It's not about that. You can be still indoctrinated into a cult, but I think that's why we have a disproportionate amount, right? Like when you're not when you're taught, like for instance, my childhood was extreme evangelicalism, and like if I questioned a crazy story like Noah's Ark, which I often did because I'm very I'm very doubtful, and I'm like that doesn't make sense to me. I would be beaten, right? Like I had the ability to question whether or not something was true. Like what's so important to a 3-year-old, like the Socratic method, like the why like that was not allowed at my house because I was doing it in relation to the Bible and I wasn't allowed to challenge those ideas. So I learned like, okay, authoritarianism, if I don't want to be hurt, I need to pipe down and just believe what I'm told. And I think that it's those when we are raised in those strict religious households with combined with authoritarianism that condition people, there are negative consequences for not accepting what people in authority over me tell me. Like that's how I think the right got to where it's at.
Well, that sucks. That sucks, big time. I hear what you're saying, and I'll admit that I live in a bubble, right? So I live in my bubble, and I can't relate to everyone's experience. So again, while I acknowledge that sucks, and it does, um, I understand that, and I definitely do not intend to discredit that and its
Oh,
effect on
yeah, I
people's
wasn't
worldview.
using a personal story to as a thought stopping like mechanism. No, you can dissent against it, sure. I just was just saying like this is another way of saying it.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying, and I get that. Um, again, so I live in my bubble, and while I may not be able to relate to that reality because I have not had that experience, it obviously doesn't. It obviously doesn't negate the reality of that influence in people's lives. So yeah, I get that. I'll acknowledge that. Again, I'm just for me, I am the same with I want to know every fact that I can. I want to know where it came from, and once I get those facts, I want to make sure that I understand the origin of those facts and the nature around them, because sometimes, as you well know, facts can be convenient to prove a point, but not necessarily the point it's intended to prove. So, I'm very slow to jump to a conclusion based on a fact, because sometimes context of facts matters. Sometimes it doesn't. I'm just stating that there's a lot of people, a majority of the people who don't do that. They don't think about things that way.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
All
anyways.
right, brother. Well, I appreciate you coming back with that source. That was good. I thought that was a good conversation.
Yep,
Come
I
back.
appreciate you guys, and
Yeah,
I'll
come
holler
back
at you later.
anytime.
All right.
All right.
Bye-bye.
See ya. There we go. All right. We can get back to the outline now. Let me double check. Dustin
Yeah,
sent
we're
a
almost
message.
to 200K. Keep tapping the screen, guys.
Dustin says, to my lies is selling the conservatives being victimized like Putin sells his electability. Find a clue, please, sir. I wasn't trying to be. I still am not really sure where lies stands. I do think that this both sidesism shit is harmful. I think that engaging in that type of rhetoric, like it might help you on a panel, and it might make the room come together a little bit. But what it does is it allows people to, in this case, it allows Republicans to pretend that like everything they believe, it just isn't a lie. I don't like that. I don't like pretending that like both sides are the same right now. They're not. I think historically there have been times when that's true. Now's not one of those times, and I don't think we should give into that. I don't think, for me personally, when someone tries to play the both sidesism, usually that's them looking for an exit, right? They've realized that there's a lot of evidence against their side, or a side that maybe they lean towards, and they're like, oh well, everybody does it, without being able to name specific things. And I think that's a big problem with politics, is most of us, most people that aren't watching political stuff, like they just hear what they heard and they're like, oh, everybody's bad, fuck politics. But it's just really not the truth. Right now, that's really not the truth. We don't have two corrupt parties right now. We just don't.
And this is kind of off topic, but I was thinking about this, and I just really want to say it. Like, for all, like, it has to do with the both side, the constant both sides. Like, yeah, I agree. The implication that both sides, anything, is offensive in my mind. But like, it also has to do with the idea of third party candidates and whatnot. Oh, hi, Tyler. I'll just say
Hey,
this
how's it
later.
going? RTP finally had the kahunas to let me up, eh?
You were in the box for a long time yesterday, and it wasn't your turn yet, and then our show was over. Nobody's afraid of you, Tyler.
Yeah, okay. I've seen you do this with numerous people that dog walk you on this live. You just don't let them up because you're scared to lose points.
Well, you're here now, sweetheart. Go
All
ahead,
right,
light the fire.
You know nothing about belief, just so you know.
Okay.
You do realize that even for the scientific method, you have to believe in the scientific method in order to even conduct scientific methods, right?
Yeah, I said believe things without evidence is what I said.
Yeah, do
Blind
you not
faith.
understand that when you conduct scientific studies and scientific things in regards to finding truth, you don't have the evidence before the conducting of that method,
I
right?
didn't say that. I didn't say that.
Yeah,
The scientific method is a way for you to test things. Faith,
Yeah.
religion, faith in Jesus is not a way to test anything. It's a fucking fairy tale. What are you going to test with your faith? What are you going to test with your faith in Jesus, Tyler? What do you test with your faith in Jesus?
Yeah, you can test the psychological realm. You can test the metaphysical realm
How?
of realities.
How?
Yeah,
How do you
because
use your faith in Jesus to test the psychological realm? What does that mean?
it could be done in numerous ways. I
Just
don't
name
know.
one. I just need
Individuals.
one way would be fine.
Yeah, I could use my faith in Jesus to practice my metaphysical, psychological, what's the word? Basically, like when they're going through prayer and whatnot. This is
Yeah.
equivalent to like people who are not religious, who are like basically, what's the word when you like
Meditate?
are like meditating, exactly, right? Like all
the
these
difference,
types of things.
the
like,
difference is meditating is honest, right? When you meditate, you sit with your thoughts. When you pray, you rely on scripture or your belief in Jesus
No,
to
you
get
don't.
those thoughts. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
can
That's why
prayer
you
be
pray to
void of
them.
a scripture?
Tyler, if you were talking to me about certain things, don't you think you'd be like leaning on what I was gonna say? Like if you were making requests to me, if you were asking for help from me, wouldn't you say like you're relying on me? Is prayer not is prayer not a conversation with God? Is that not what it is?
Yeah, sure.
And
I mean,
who
it
is
can be
God? And who
subjective
is
though.
God?
To me, God
Not to you. Who
is
is he? No, not to you. I'm not asking for like your interpretation. I want to know who he is.
it's a subjective thing, my
Okay, but
friend.
when I'm meditating, I'm thinking my thoughts and I know who I am. And if I don't think that I'm real, I can go stand in front of a mirror and I see me. And I recognize that the thoughts in my head are drawn from my own experiences. But when you're praying, you're relying on teachings, you're relying on a belief system, and it's easy to be contorted so you get what you think are answers, but it's just your conditioning.
Yeah,
I've
when
been
you say
religious,
that
Tyler.
they're,
I used to pray 3 or
I
4
don't
times a
care.
day.
I don't
Yeah.
care.
Well, you can't
Yeah, when
explain it, can you, Tyler?
yes, I can. When
Okay, well, go
yeah,
ahead.
you're saying that they're relying specifically and solely on their prayer to their God. When do you think that after their prayer they just don't live and they just give it all up to God? They don't go to work, they don't do anything. God's just
Brother,
going to
that's
give them
literally
everything
give
because
it,
they prayed to them. No, that's not how it
brother.
works. People still go and
To
live their
God,
lives.
brother. Give it to God is said in every church on every Sunday. I watched a preacher
So,
last night that was saying,
who
"What?
cares?
You think you can't pay your bills? Give it to God. You're struggling
That
with your
doesn't mean
children?
that you
Give it to
don't do
God." Well, who
anything
the
in
fuck is
reality.
God? Who is that? I don't even know who to
It
give it
can
to. Does he
mean
have a PO
God can mean
box?
something to something else to each individual. It's a
Exactly. It's
subjective
imaginary.
psychological
Exactly,
concept.
Tyler. It's
No, it's
imaginary.
metaphysical. Do you know what
It's
metaphysics are? Do
imaginary.
you know what metaphysics are?
You can explain it to me. Explain to me how God is
Exactly, because you
metaphysical.
don't know what it is.
Go ahead.
Metaphysics pertains to things that are not physical in nature, and there's plenty things in reality that we talk about and try to decide on that aren't physical in nature, that
Like
has
what?
no physical evidence.
All right,
Yeah,
let's
like our
compare.
thoughts. Like our thoughts are metaphysical.
Okay, but guess those thoughts, we like those thoughts are happening inside of our brain, right? Is God happen? Are you
Yeah,
saying that God is just something that happens in your brain?
from my belief, I take a more psychological stance on it. I don't think there's some.
You move past metaphysics and you make it physical. This isn't metaphysics to
No,
you.
I
It's
didn't. I said it
well, he's
wasn't
real, right?
physical. That
Wait,
it
I thought
wasn't physical is what I
so.
said.
God's
Which
not a
would
real
imply
thing.
it's metaphysical.
So God's not a
What
real
do you
thing.
mean by real?
Is he a real
Define
person?
real.
Does he
Define
exist?
real.
Does he
Define
exist?
real.
Does he
You have
exist?
to define real, and that's
I'm
my point with
asking
this
you.
whole debate.
I'm saying when I say is
You
God
think
real?
you
Calm
think the
down,
only things that
sweetheart.
are real are
Sweetums.
physical things that
Sweetums.
you can
Calm
see
down.
and
Yeah.
feel.
Well, that's why I'm clarifying. I'm asking, is God a real thing? Like, does God exist?
The concept of God is a real thing.
I didn't ask
Yes.
about the concept. I said the person
That's
God.
what God is to me, though.
Okay, so
You're
that's
debating
what I
me.
asked. Okay, so you don't believe
Yeah,
God
so
is
it
a
is
real thing. It's
real.
just something that
It
exists in
is
your head.
real. I don't think that it's a physical reality.
Okay, so God is not a physical being. You
It's
cannot
a
see,
metaphysical
touch, or feel God.
idea.
Is that right? You can't
So
feel,
it's an
touch, or see God?
idea.
I don't believe so. No.
Okay, great.
Okay. Yeah,
Then
and
we
my
agree.
point is, and then the
That's what I
other
think God
notions,
is.
yeah,
Imaginary.
but then you go with that and you say that we should just completely disregard with these ideas completely,
No,
and you
no,
say that the world would be a better
it's
place
not
if
what I said.
all religion was void when you don't even understand the
Agreed.
nature of religion.
No, I
You
do. But
guys
let me
are
explain my
yeah,
position.
you
Tyler,
guys are
shut the fuck up.
religious even with
Tyler,
your
shut up.
non.
All right, I'm gonna mute you. Tyler, that's not what I said. What I said is that religion, like religion and being religious and relying on and being taught to believe in things without proof conditions you to believe other things without proof. Therefore, if we didn't have people who were being conditioned from the start to believe things without proof, I think the world would be a better place. That's my opinion. But I do
Yeah,
think the
there
world would be a better place without people who are conditioned to believe things that aren't true.
Yes, I agree that within religion, there are many people that are absolutely extreme, ridiculous, and whatnot, and what have you. But on
Yeah.
the other side of the coin, this can apply to people who are secular as well. There have been many
But what
secular
you're not,
leaders in
wait,
history that have caused tyranny like you wouldn't
but
believe.
is that based on them believing things that aren't real?
Yes,
And if it is,
absolutely.
okay, great. And where did that conditioning come from? Like, give me an
I don't
example.
know. We'd have to talk
You
about a
don't know.
specific
Okay.
case,
Well, pick
like
one.
a specific leader in history, like Mao Zedong, for example, or Joseph Stalin, or any of these people that would have believed in some sort of enemy. That it like that's one of the common notions that a lot of people have on either side of the aisle, is that someone's oppressing them, somebody's against them, somebody's attacking them. Like, that's easy to, like, how do you not understand that?
No, I do understand that. The difference is,
That can apply to secular
well,
people.
yeah, but the difference is what you have right now is you have a Republican Party who believes that everybody on the left is part of like this Marxist communist agenda.
That's
And
not what
that we
everybody
are,
on the
no,
right
I'm not
thinks.
done yet. I'm not
That's
done
a straw
yet.
man.
I'm not done yet. No, I'm talking about, I could play clip after clip after clip
Sure,
of
there are
right-wingers
people,
saying
not
these things.
all of
Great.
them.
I didn't say all of them. I said people on the right.
You said pretty much
Okay,
all.
Tyler,
I'm
this
pretty
is why
sure
you're
that's
no
what
fun
you
to
said.
talk to. This is why you're no fun to talk to.
Because I don't.
I don't like conditioning people from birth. I think that is morally
Oh,
reprehensible.
there's no.
And I think
You
it
can't
makes
take
for
away
a
all
worse,
conditioning.
And I think it makes for a worse world. So I think that people
You can't
should
take
do,
away
so
100%
I
of
think
conditioning for
I didn't
children.
say that. I said people should do their best not to condition children to believe things without facts. That includes things just in parenting, like
There are
when
an
your
infinite
child
amount of
asks
facts in
why,
reality.
not just saying because I said so, but explaining to your child why. I think that it goes beyond religion. But yeah, I
Do
think
you think
parents have-
science
I
has
think
ever led
parents
us
have-
to
I think parents
bad
have a
things?
responsibility to not teach their children to believe things without evidence.
Do you think science has led us to bad things and atrocities, for example?
100%, yeah.
Well, at least you admit that, like,
I
because
mean,
that's
yeah, but then what happens, right? Like, so let's talk about the Earth revolving around the sun. What happened? What happened to
okay.
people who dared to say that the Earth revolved around the sun? What happened to them? And who was
They
it
could
that
have been.
attacked?
They
And
could
who
have been
was it that put
persecuted.
them? And who was it that put them to death?
It could have very well
The
been religious
religious,
people.
because science.
We're talking
allow-
about thousands
See,
of years
but
ago, my
that's what I'm
friend.
talking about. Science allows you to adjust with new information, like gravity, for example. We have a new understanding just in the few recent years that gravity moves as waves, right? With science, you're allowed for new information to better inform you. With religion, you're not. Religion,
Okay.
every single religion has a basis that is not based in fact or reality. And you are, to stay in that
Incorrect.
religion, you have to ignore scientific progress.
Incorrect. It's more.
Give me an
It's more
example of a religion
complicated.
that doesn't ignore scientific progress.
I'm not saying that they don't ignore scientific progress in some capacity. You're making absolute claims, though.
Okay.
That's
No,
what
I
you're
said-
doing.
No.
You
see,
said that they don't believe in any evidence or anything like that,
No,
and
I
that
said
nothing of it is
conditions them
real.
That there gets to a point, just like we had when we're talking about the Earth revolving around the sun, because there was prophecy, and prophets had said that the sun revolved around the Earth, that we were the center of the universe, and that directly went against their teachings. So when Galileo and other scientists came out and said, "Hey, actually, it's the opposite," they had to kill them because they didn't want the religion to collapse. So incentivizes people to hide truth and to attack those who tell the truth.
Yeah, nobody prosecutes or persecutes people under this scenario. This was thousands of years ago when
It's
people
happening
didn't
right now
even
to
have
trans
the
people.
science.
It's happening right now to
I'm
trans
talking
people.
about the specific example that you gave. Nobody's
Well, of course,
persecuting for the sun
because people,
stuff.
because science
Like-
won, and yeah, because science won.
Yes,
Science,
this was
science
thousands of years
keeps
ago
winning.
when
And
people,
then
when
you
the
guys just
scientific
adjust,
method emerged.
which is why 50 years from now, Christians aren't going to be sitting there saying like trans people aren't real. Just like Christians evolved.
Oh,
when it
Lord,
when it
that's
comes
such a
to gay
disingenuous
marriage.
statement.
Yeah,
It's a straw man.
Yeah, like 80% of
They're
Christians,
disagreeing
80
with
to
their theories. They're
90%
not
of
saying they don't
Christians-
physically
80 to
exist.
90% of Christians didn't believe that gay marriage was okay 20 years ago, but you look at it now and it's much closer to 50.
That's not even talking about fact-based
Yeah.
things. That's a moral thing.
But
Whether
that's what I'm
something's
saying.
right or wrong.
They
That's not based
evolve.
in fact.
They evolve. They're forced to evolve.
Do you
But their
understand
first
that it was
move
a Catholic
is to
that
attack,
created the Big
Tyler.
Bang Theory?
Their first move, Tyler, is to attack and demonize and claim that this is against God's will. And when they lose in the court of public opinion, because they don't want to admit that they were wrong, they just kind of retreat and adjust their beliefs.
You
But
do
they were the
understand that it
ones.
was a
Do you believe
okay.
that gay
Sorry,
people should
go
be
ahead.
married? Do you believe gay people should be allowed to be married?
Sure.
Okay. Did Christians during the time when gay marriage was on the ballots, were Christians largely in support of that or against it?
They were likely in majority
Against it.
against it.
Okay, but what is that number now?
It would
It's a
probably
minority of Christians who believe that gay people shouldn't be married. It's a minority.
well, wouldn't that be that's a good thing, right?
No, it's a survival technique of all these religions. They don't mind.
So it's
they
not
didn't
a
mind when they were out protesting, when they were out hurling vile insults at gay people, it was all in the name of God. But now just 15 years later, now they're just pretending they didn't do that. They use their beliefs to attack people, and then they try and whitewash history and be like, oh, well, that was then, but not now. But you're doing the same thing to trans people right now.
people who are secular do the exact same thing in regards to many other things we argue about
Give me
in
an
society.
example.
Global environmental claims, all sorts of
What
environmental
about it?
claims.
What about it?
Yeah, I'm attacked for not
No,
necessarily.
tell me what.
Yes, I'm giving you an example. Calm down, little buddy. People
The
attack
Canadian
me
accent came out on that. I
for
liked that.
people. Yeah, but yeah, that makes sense because we say buddy a lot.
I like little buddy.
Anyways,
Yeah.
I get attacked a lot for not necessarily believing to the exact degree that people like Greta Thunberg claim in regards to our Earth being unlivable within 30 years if we don't eradicate the entirety of fossil fuels. I'm attacked for this, and I'm considered a denialist, and they equate it to Holocaust
Well,
denial.
what's your counter evidence?
Yeah,
What's your
my counter
evidence
there.
then?
Do you think
'Cause
there
that-
isn't scientists that are out there disagreeing with these
Yeah, of
notions?
course
I can
do,
give
but
you
I'm
literally like five
Tyler,
right now.
Tyler, hold on. Of course I do. I'm wondering. You're saying you're personally attacked, so I just wonder. Like maybe the reason you're personally attacked is because you think like George Soros.
It's because
is
I don't
controlling
believe what
the
they
weather,
believe.
right? And if you believed that
No,
George
I
Soros
don't
was,
believe
I know,
that.
but
That's a
Tyler, I'm
straw
giving you-
man.
I know, Tyler. I'm
If
giving
someone
you an
thinks I believe
Tyler,
that, then they haven't
Tyler,
listened to
Tyler,
me.
chill, dude. I'm giving you an example of when I think it would be okay for people to attack your beliefs. If that's why I'm asking you when you're talking about climate change, what's your basis? I'm trying to figure out why people are calling you crazy.
Yeah, I don't think that fossil fuels should be radically eradicated over the next well, I mean, there's many people who believe it should be stopped right now as we speak.
Okay, but why don't you believe we should get rid of it?
Because because carbon dioxide is literally one of the fundamental pillars for life, and our planet has gotten 30%
Okay, this is
greener
why
over the last 30 years.
Yeah, this is why people.
You
make
can go
fun of
look
you.
that up. That's a scientific study
Yeah, no,
that's
this
been
is why-
done.
Yeah, this is why people are making fun of you because that doesn't make any
No,
sense.
they're attacking me. They're not making
Yeah.
fun of me. They're attacking me.
Yeah, but you're saying
they want me
you're saying- wait,
canceled for that.
Have the carbon dioxide emissions, the parts per million, has it ever been higher than now? While
Yes,
humans
it has.
wait,
Yes.
Tyler, wait, hold on, wait till the end. While humans have been on this planet,
Why do you cherry pick only that timeline of the world's history? That's disingenuous, and there's scientists that prove why.
Because we're talking about what will the effects be on humans. So we need to study when humans were here, because if we study times when there weren't humans, we don't know how it affects humans.
We're animals, we're mammals, just
Are we the
like
same
a
as
lot of other
dinosaurs?
mammals.
No, we are
No,
not the
I
same.
never said dinosaurs. I just said mammals.
Well, okay, but we're not the same. Which mammals that exist right now lived during that time? Which ones?
That doesn't matter.
none. The
That
answer
doesn't
is
matter.
none.
What I'm
Zero.
saying
Yeah,
is
that's why people
extreme.
call you
What I'm
crazy.
saying is dangerous levels of carbon dioxide would be dangerous for all sorts of mammals, not just humans.
And when we wait, but hold on. When we did have higher levels of carbon dioxide, what was happening on our planet during that time?
There's been times where the Arctic has been completely melted
What
in the
was
world's
going on
history.
when carbon dioxide
I
was
just
at
told
high
you.
levels?
I just told you.
Volcanoes, extreme volcanic activity.
Volcanoes are correlated to carbon dioxide levels? How? Can you explain to me how volcanoes are correlated to carbon dioxide levels as a result? No, volcanoes would emit more carbon
Keep
dioxide.
tapping
The
the screen. If
volcanoes
you have a message for
cause more
Tyler,
carbon
donate and we'll
dioxide.
read it
They're
to
not a
him.
result of
Just
carbon
keep talking,
dioxide.
Wait,
Tyler.
humans
Tap the
and
screen,
volcanoes
guys.
both
Well, you're
emit
the one
carbon
interrupting
dioxide.
me, so.
Wait, what? What are you saying? Are you saying that a volcanic eruption does not emit carbon dioxide?
Yes, it does.
Okay, then what are you saying?
It does. Yeah, I'm saying volcanoes are not a result of carbon dioxide emissions.
He didn't say
I didn't say they were a
that.
result. I said they caused an elevated level of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere.
Yeah, this would prove your guys' nonsense incorrect. Do you think you can control volcanoes?
Nobody's saying that you can. We're just saying that the levels that you're comparing to were a time of extreme volcanic activity, and those conditions don't exist today. However, if those same exact conditions existed right now, you know what we would have? We would have higher levels than before. If you gave us the same exact conditions that were the same amount of volcanic activity,
Incorrect.
CO2 levels would be higher because humans, on average, emit 60 times the amount of carbon dioxide than volcanoes currently. 60 times more than volcanoes currently. So if you had very high volcanic activity that led to like record highs in CO2 levels, and you added humans at the same time, we would have higher levels and we would also all die.
You're literally, can you give me a scientific evidence claiming, give me a concentration level of carbon dioxide and give me evidence proving that all humans would die under this threshold? Like, you're literally making scientific claims. I'm not going to let you get away with this trash.
Great. Okay, so what's like an acceptable level?
You do realize all humans would die without carbon dioxide, right?
What's an acceptable level?
You do realize that, right?
Yes, of course, of course. But just like all
actually, not only without carbon dioxide, once you reach a certain threshold of carbon dioxide that is minimal, all humans die. Not even just none.
Tyler, all humans also need water, but you can die from consuming too much water, so that's stupid.
yeah, you can die from consuming, literally like shoving water down your body, like forcefully, like for minutes on end. Yes.
Scientific consensus for what, how many parts per million of CO2 in the atmosphere is safe for humans?
Like, I don't know. I'm not making this claim. Like, I'm just telling you, like, I'm safe right now. What do you mean? Like, we're all here. The populations continue to grow. People precipitously die less from natural.
Anywhere between 400 and 1,000 parts per million. When do we start seeing levels that like where you start getting sick, you get drowsy, you get nausea? When do those levels usually exist? At what level?
I don't know.
Yeah, see, over 1,000.
Yeah, I don't like. I don't even.
And our CO2 levels are rising, correct?
Where is the actual conducting of science that proves this?
You can look at the effects on humans with CO2 levels. They've done this many times. Basically anything over 5,000.
Yeah, but your claim is we all die.
Basically everything over 5,000 parts per million of CO2 is going to lead to a lot of human death. You can't stay alive if the parts per million are over 5,000. You will die. We know that. We can test that. What do you think? Like,
yeah, and what is currently
what do you think happens
the levels?
when people when people choose to unalive themselves and they use a car exhaust? Yeah,
that's carbon monoxide.
Too much of
that's carbon monoxide, not carbon dioxide.
I know that. Too much of any of these things can be harmful to your health, right? Can you inhale some carbon monoxide? Yes. When does it become detrimental? When it gets too many parts per million, right? Same with carbon dioxide. It's the exact same thing. There are levels in which it can end your life, right?
Yes, I'm not denying that.
Okay, so that's why
right?
we're trying to come down, because we're at 430, I think, right now, and we're moving up. And between 400 and 1,000, like most scientists say, like we're above where it's safe. We're already above that.
Yeah, I just don't believe it. There's many other scientists that actually disagree.
To not believe things. And
no, there's other scientists that disagree with this.
No, there's not. No.
Yes, there is.
Find me a scientist who says you can have over 5,000 parts per million of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, and that will not end
I'm
human
saying
lives.
that's not even attainable. We're not even going to come close to that ever. It's not going to happen.
Wait, but we've been higher
when
than that
humans
before.
didn't exist.
Exactly.
As we are now.
Yes. And are we, if
What do you mean? What
if our
happened?
CO2 levels continue to increase at this level, will we get over that? Will we get over that rate at some point?
Who's to say it continues to increase?
I said if it does.
Yeah, if it continues
Okay.
to
So
increase in this hypothetical
so
scenario,
don't you think, Tyler, that you would be better off looking at the data and saying which data is better? Is the data better that says this is harmful, or is the data better that says it's not harmful? And the
even according
overwhelming consensus in the scientific community is this is detrimental, with just a few stragglers being like, oh, we don't really care. And you're choosing to take the few stragglers. You're believing the lesser amount of evidence. Why? Because
I
you've
don't
been
get that's
conditioned
not
to
an
believe that
argument.
God is in
Consensus
charge of
isn't an
everything,
argument.
that he made this planet, and so
No,
you
I
are
didn't. You're straw manning me. I'm
you
not a
are
religious zealot.
incentivized
I'm
to
not a religious
believe-
zealot. Don't
you
straw
are
man me.
Incentivized to believe that everything will just take care of itself.
No, I didn't say everything will
Well,
just take
you're
care
relying on
of
the worst-
itself.
You're relying on literally the worst science.
There's actual specific environmental detrimental things that we need to take care of, but you have whining protesters that know nothing about it saying we need to eradicate this, eradicate that. It's an
Yeah, the
over emotional
whining
response
wait.
to problems. Nobody
So the
should
whining
follow people
protesters,
who
Tyler-
fearmonger that our world's going to cease to
So the
exist within
whining
the next 20
protesters-
years.
So the whining protesters
Who
that's
sit
a
in front
problem.
of traffic
Be
and
quiet.
stop people
All
from
right,
getting to their
So the whining protesters, that's a problem. But the fossil fuel industry literally making up studies and lying about their effects on the environment and fudging the numbers, no problem. Conservatives rely on almost exclusively studies from the fossil fuel industries who have one objective: keep fossil fuels alive as long as possible. And do we know that the fossil fuel industries lie to us? Yeah, they do it all the time. But you're worried about somebody standing in the
Every
street
single industry has
blocking
lied to us
traffic.
at
Okay.
times.
Yeah, keep
Every
telling
single
me you like
industry-
science.
Yeah, tell that to the dying family. Can I respond? Why do you keep muting me?
Check
know,
the
I think-
messages. I'm just saying, just for
I wasn't
housekeeping
muting
things.
you. My mods.
I haven't talked for a long time, so I was just saying check the messages and keep tapping the screen, guys.
Yeah, the fossil fuel industry is the industry in which has generated the production and the success and the first world conditions that we currently live in. It's the fossil fuel
and what else have
industry.
they? Wait, what else have they also contributed to rising CO2 levels?
I don't care about that.
Yeah, that's the point. You don't care. So
It's
you-
not
you
dangerous,
want to
even
believe
according to the
bad
international,
science. You're
even according
incentivized
to the
believe
international
bad
committees
science.
that look
No,
at
dude, you're
this
not somebody we
over
should
the
take
next 30
seriously.
years.
No, you don't
They
care
don't,
about the science. You
even
just have a-
according to their own studies, sea level rise is not going to be a problem. Sea level rise has not risen. And even when sea level does
sea
rise
levels haven't risen?
incrementally
Wait, hold on,
over the
hold
next
on,
100
hold on,
years.
Hold on. Now I'm muting you. I need you to address that. Sea levels have not risen?
Sea levels have risen
cite
in
your
certain
source for
areas
that?
and have gone down in certain areas. It's not that all water all across the world
Well,
rises at the same time or goes down at the
Overall,
same time.
yeah.
That's a
Overall-
flawed way of looking at it,
overall,
is
Tyler-
overall. That's
Yeah,
a
it's
flawed way of
way.
looking at it.
Okay.
Yeah, because you
Yeah.
could be dealing with a place over in Asia that's currently dealing with extreme flooding, and then look at a place over in Canada that's literally bone dry.
Yeah.
That's literally why you can't look at it that way.
That's
The
called
world
weather,
is
Tyler.
complicated.
That's called weather. And what you would look at is you would
Yeah,
look at the
that's
and
not a
if-
rebuttal.
Yes, it is. If sea levels are rising,
Saying that what I said is weather is
this
not a
is why
rebuttal.
I'm muting you because you won't shut up. If you're saying that sea levels are like, if you look at the graph of the rise of sea levels since 1880, it just goes like that. What's your data against that? Your data against that is, well, in some places it went down. Like, when did we get fossil fuels? When did we
I know,
start
and it's-
using fossil fuels, Tyler?
We started using fossil fuels in the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah, and what happened to our sea levels ever since we introduced fossil fuels? It's like Price Right.
If they've risen, they've incrementally risen, and you don't even know that carbon dioxide is the sole contributing factor to that.
Nobody has said it's the sole contributing factor, have they? See, and this is the thing.
It's
this is
it's incremental over time.
This is
You're looking at
this
over
is
100-year
what's
span.
faulty. This is what's faulty about your logic. You keep trying to say, like, well, one thing didn't cause all of it. That's true. We're talking about the culmination of a lot of things, including things like adding blacktop. including things like having more human beings. More human beings means more CO2 emissions.
You
We have
guys,
more human beings on this earth than ever before, so they play a part. Blacktop,
yeah,
especially all over
we're
America, because it
underpopulated.
reflects the sunlight and radiates heat. That also contributes. There are a lot of things that contribute. Nobody's
So
saying it's just CO2.
that's literally one of the fundamental principles to the
Yeah,
entire
but nobody's
doomsday
literally
climate
saying that that's the
theory is
only
carbon
thing.
dioxide.
Yeah, but nobody's saying it's the only thing. That's what I just
There
said.
are some people saying
Who?
that. You just said
Who?
nobody's saying that.
Who? Find me one person who
Yeah,
says
yeah,
carbon dioxide is the
radical,
only reason.
yeah, radical
One person.
doomsday
One
environmental
person.
propagandists.
One person.
Yeah, yeah, Greta Thunberg.
Greta Thunberg said, and the quote that you're going to show me is Greta Thunberg saying that CO2 levels are alone to blame for climate change.
They're not
Yeah.
claiming that it's the only variable. They're saying that it's the only variable to consider. It's the main
No, they're not.
driving
No, they're
variable.
not.
Yes, it
Greta,
is,
no,
dude.
Greta Thunberg has talked about a lot of different. And by the way, like, I don't know that much about Greta Thunberg. She's not somebody that I go to. She's not like a go-to for me. But Greta Thunberg has
She's not a
talked about.
scientist.
Well, she knows more than you. She's not a scientist.
No,
but
she
she's
does
an
not.
idiot.
She's a little girl who needs to get out and enjoy her life more and stop listening to fearmongers
That's
that
you,
are making
Tyler.
her anxiety induced and making the entirety of our
Projection.
youth
I really
through
Projection.
enjoyed
anxiety.
I really
Projection.
enjoyed this conversation. You're doing great. You're doing really well, Tyler.
Yeah, all of our youth right now are anxiety driven and fearing that our world is going to end. And if we don't eradicate the energy that literally makes us thrive and is affordable, then
brother, your party
like,
is mad. Your party is terrified of people being
my
a
party.
gender
What's
that
my
they don't-
party?
Well, your side, your conservative side. You guys
What's
are
my
all up in
side?
arms about people being trans. Shut the fuck up forever about fear mongering. You could what? There's people.
I don't
in
fearmonger
there's people
over the
in
trans
drag that are
situation.
reading books. I don't want to hear shit
I don't
about
fearmonger over that
phobias
shit. I
from the
just
most
disagree with their
phobic
theories.
Group of people in existence.
I don't give a
You
shit
guys are
about your
afraid of
stupid
literally
insults.
everything. You're afraid of communism. You're afraid of socialism. You're
I'm not
afraid
of that shit. I
universal
reject
healthcare.
it.
You're
I
afraid
shit
of
on
gay
it.
people.
I
You're
shit on
afraid of
communism. I'm not
trans
afraid of
people.
it.
Yeah, you
Communism's
sure
a
do.
weak fucking theory. It's weak.
Tyler, you're weak.
Communism has
You
killed
are-
millions and
you
millions. The
are
theories
not
of
only
communism
mentally
and the
weak,
communist.
but probably physically weak. And I hope you have a good day, Tyler.
No,
I would destroy you.
authoritarians have unalived millions and millions of people, not the ideas of communism. Like, but what he's talking, like Marxism spread fast, not since Christianity had an ideology spread faster than Marxism, because it makes perfect sense. But when an authoritarian takes Marxism, or becomes the opposition to Marxism, yeah, like there is violence.
The main point is like when you have people like this on the right, this perfectly encapsulated what we were talking about. Like, you throw out any information that doesn't fit your narrative, and then you rely on anecdotal shit. Like, how many times find me a conservative who talks about this stuff without mentioning Greta Thunberg. No, you want to talk about triggered, you want to talk about soft. They are very concerned about what one teenage girl across the ocean is saying. They're very upset about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's the patriarchy, right? Like, think of how much misogyny is hurled at that little girl. She's a child. She's a literal child. So, like, I think, like, I mean, I commend her, but like, this is why, like, I was listening to like an Oxford professor, a woman, discuss like how debate can. This is the problem with debate. Like, should all ideas be debated? Maybe not Tyler's.
That's a good point. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or should women's rights be debated, right? Like, the origins of debate are like in Greece or wherever they are, and that had to do with white male landowners, again, were the only ones that had the right to be involved in debate and whose ideas could be debated. And
Greta
so,
Thunberg
yeah,
is
I think,
21 now.
yeah.
Holy shit, time flies.
Or I mean, I know
apologize. She's a grown ass woman. I apologize for saying she's a teenage
Well,
girl.
I'm just saying she's very young. Well, let me just say this.
That's crazy.
I can only speak for myself, but I'm older now, and now I realize like when I was 21, I was a baby. You know what I mean? It's like you just don't know what you don't know. Like I'm just saying that's why I sort of refer to her as if I just feel I see all the hate she gets from the right. Who was that? Oh, Andrew Tate. Remember the Andrew Tate Greta back and forth? And like I remember looking at those posts and the comments underneath them and just thinking like this is a child. How could you do this?
Shuck, I see you there. Shuck, are you op? Just I want to make sure. I can't remember. I know you've been on here before, but
Yeah, she was definitely a kid when this whole thing started. 100%.
yeah. I was married with a kid at 21. All right, Mormon. I don't know if that's true or not, but that sounds like all of my friends. In fact, most of the girls I went to high school with, like almost all of them were married by 21. Oh, damn near. I don't see. Shuck it. I'll bring you up, but Jen's gonna boot you if you're not up. So just be ready.
He is, right? We talked to
I
him
can't remember. I'm just
before.
bad.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we talked to him.
Yeah, I'm opposition.
All right. Welcome.
Welcome.
What's up?
Thanks for having us.
Oh, thanks for having me. I didn't see what you guys were talking about today. What's the topic?
Well, I would prefer not to go on the last topic.
Yeah,
which
Tyler
was-
derailed us. That's what happened. Tyler, this is a show about politics and we were off track.
Do you remember where we were before? Well, I can tell you what we talked about. I mean, we talked about social conditioning. We talked about the dishonesty of conservatives, specifically like elected conservatives, and how willing they are to weaponize the government while shouting that the government's being weaponized against them, which it's not. That was like our first topic.
And then when we were watching the Rachel Maddow show, which Rachel was basically reading the transcript from the hush money trial of yesterday's contempt hearing when he was found in contempt for the 10th time, and then the judge addressed Trump directly and kind of said, you know, I don't, for all these reasons, I don't want to put you in jail, but you continue to like bastardize the rule of law. So like that's where we're at now, you know, kind of final warning. We were going, that's what we were going along those lines.
I
And
need to
then
read-
we got off on weaponization because Jim Jordan was up on the screen, if I remember right.
I need to read a couple comments from Kim. Kim says, "Tell Tyler the FBI is trying to get in. Open the damn door. The banging's annoying. I wish these weren't loading when he was here. I don't know what was. I don't know. My internet's bad.
I know we had messages for Tyler. I was like, there's no way we could be
told me.
going through this whole thing and no one has anything to say to Tyler.
From Stacy, funds for Tyler to buy a 6th grade textbook. It's not nice. And Dustin said Tyler is literally too dumb to breathe. Well, he was breathing. I don't know, but I if he had to just think about it, I don't know if it would work out. Anyways, any of those topics spark your interest there? Shuck
And
it, Trebek.
Marianne's back. Hi, Marianne. We'll get to
Okay.
you.
No, I'm not a big fan of the hearings that are going on. I keep hearing Trump's going to be a dictator. I keep hearing about the criminal trials and the civil trials, and I'm not a big fan of them. There is no consistency with the DOJ and the FBI. That's
do you
been
mean?
proven.
What do you mean consistency?
There's been no consistency.
What do you mean?
From a criminal investigation standpoint, I mean, both Trump and, for example, Hillary were investigated by the DOJ, by the FBI, for the exact same thing, the Espionage Act. They were both being investigated.
I don't think Hillary was investigated for the Espionage Act.
Yes, she was. Yeah,
When?
that was the whole point of her email server. Her email server, when what's his name?
No, so just to be clear, when we're talking about the Espionage Act, that would only come into play once you're indicting somebody, right? Like you investigate
that's-
somebody to see but she was never accused of espionage.
That's my whole point. Trump was charged under the Espionage Act.
Why?
For why?
Yeah.
You don't know why he was charged on the Espionage?
No, I do. I'm wondering if you do.
For obstruction of justice under the Espionage Act. So let me just clarify something. Hillary Clinton was investigated for criminal offenses related to the Espionage Act. So James Comey took the stand under oath in front of Congress, testified that she, when asked by the senators, did she send and receive
Are you
classified?
talking about the Mar-a-Lago docs case when you say obstruction of justice? Like, I'm just
Yes,
confused.
yes,
What?
yes, yes,
Well, an
yes.
obstruction of justice charge is what? Like obstructing an investigation, right?
Okay, right. So let me give you
So that
my.
wouldn't be under the Espionage Act.
Well,
Do
no,
any,
that they came under the Espionage Act. All 37 counts came under the
Oh,
Espionage
okay.
Act. Yeah.
So let me just ask you: either one of you have any experience in law enforcement or criminal justice?
Have we been
Outside of
cops?
reading stuff, no.
No.
Okay, so I'm former law enforcement, and I've been in front of a judge I typed up my own probable cause affidavits, my own criminal complaints.
Just
I have obtained search warrants. I have obtained criminal, arrest warrants. So the standard to convene a grand jury is literally very low bar. As long as you have some evidence that you can present, you should convene a grand jury. So Hillary not only got away with it once, she got away with it twice. She got away with her classified docs. They didn't convene a grand
Got
jury.
away with
They never-
what though? What? Wait, what did she get away with?
That's what I'm trying to explain. So she was investigated for violation of the Espionage Act. She sent and received classified documentation on a secured server.
Correct.
James Comey testified under oath that she did, in fact, send and receive classified docs.
Correct.
That is enough evidence. That in itself, the FBI found, is enough evidence to convene a grand jury. And yet they never did. He said any reasonable prosecutor would not prosecute that case. That's
Yeah.
not for, that's
Do you know
not
why?
for-
Do you know
Yeah.
why?
Hold on. That's not
No,
for
no, no.
him
Wait,
to
wait. No, we
decide.
got to stay here. Not hold on. We got to
That's
stay
not
here.
for him
No,
to
wait. Hold
decide.
on. Shuck it. I know Liv said he lost a couple. I'm trying to. I don't know who else lost some. It wasn't. I don't think it was Shuck It. I think Shuck It was nice. I'm not gonna blame Shuck It. I think it's Tyler. that's just my guess. Not even
Hello?
necessarily that
Hello?
it was him.
hello? Hello?
Try one more time.
Hello? Hello?
All right.
Hello? Hello?
Boom. Got it. Finally.
You
Okay.
can hear me? Okay, cool.
Got it. Yeah. All right. I don't know if Shuck It's gonna come back. We'll give Shuck It a minute. Yeah. So just that was a quick review too. Usually you don't get a review back that quick unless they are overturning the ban, but not this time. That time they just they just let me know that the ban was forever. For a week, I guess. Let me pull that up. Boomer did fix it. All right. Well, I don't know if Shuck It's coming back. It's up to you if you want to talk to Ohad or if we want to move on.
I'm fine. I am fine talking to Ohad. I am completely okay with it. Yeah, he doesn't bother me at all. I mean, his ideas do, but I just mean as far as like not like trigger.
Yeah, I would love to talk with Phyllis. Not much with you. I think you are a crybaby.
No, I don't want to argue with you one-on-one. Just to clarify.
You can.
I just realized like you are a tanky, so you are a communist basically.
I am?
No. I don't know his name. I just know his RTP. I have no idea what.
Oh,
it's called.
his name is Jay.
What did he? I don't even know what you said. What'd you say?
He
That
said that
wasn't-
he's a communist. He's asked if you were a communist.
No, I'm not a communist. I would consider myself a libertarian socialist.
Libertarian socialist. So
Yeah.
what do you think about Milel, for example, in Argentina?
Who? What? I don't know what you said.
The
Who?
far right authoritarian dictator in
Oh, what's his-
Argentina. What do
Milan
you
or
think
whatever?
about him?
Dictator. So it was.
I feel like I'm an interpreter.
Yeah, you're good with that. It's on me. I'm just bad hearing accents. I wish I
No,
was
yeah.
better.
Well, you are a libertarian. Like in about 4 months, okay, he pulled Argentina economy from the BRICS, okay, to a much better position. Like, can't you even give him credit for that?
As a libertarian, I'm generally not in favor of strong-armed authoritarians. No, I do not believe that that fixing economics is a good reason to install a dictator.
How is he a dictator if all he did since he got into office is reduce government power, and he
Well,
was democratically elected?
Did he
so what are you
did he
speaking about?
jail a lot of people?
putting people in prison for crimes is not being a dictator. Like if you put innocent people in jail, of course, yes, but like what makes you think that he pulls like random people, jail them?
I didn't say that they were random people. I said he went in and he jailed people. First of all, there seemed to be a political agenda, and second of all, I don't think people should be jailed as often as people are jailed. I think that's an authoritarian right wing like view, is that people need to be jailed all the time.
Especially not for political beliefs.
What do you mean political beliefs? Were the people that he jailed like criminals? Yes or no? Like this is all that matters.
It doesn't matter. No, because we're talking about the difference between libertarianism and authoritarianism, and you are pro-authoritarianism, and I'm not. So no, it doesn't matter.
No,
Wait,
no,
hold
I
on, hold
won't
on,
stand those
hold on,
accusations.
Ohad,
I
because
won't stand those
I
accusations unless you can actually make your point.
just because something is against the law in Argentina does not mean that I think that people necessarily need to be put in prison for breaking those
Okay, what
laws.
law do you don't agree with?
Well, I could pull it. I could pull them up. You want to wait a second?
Sure.
I do appreciate, however, though, that you're not an authoritarian, but you love Malay and Bibi. I do like that.
What makes you think that I like Bibi? I just like you need to understand like the Israeli sentiment that you don't want me to
You
speak
like what
about
Bibi
every
is
single time I come
doing.
in.
You
Like
like
you
what he's
don't want to hear
doing.
anything from me about it.
You like what he's doing. You like what he's doing.
Will you at least accept the fact, okay, with raw numbers, that the war in Gaza is the best ratio for urban warfare in all of history of conflict?
Yeah, again, as somebody who loves freedom, I don't really care. Like there's innocent people being unalived right
I
and
know how
left.
you feel, and
So
I
I
get
don't
it. I
care.
respect that. I respect that.
Okay?
But your beliefs just doesn't care about the fact that if we don't
What you
clear
don't
out the
I
age, by
you
the
don't
way,
know my
just
beliefs.
just unalive 6 Palestinians just today, they're just
Uh-huh.
going to do the
Maybe.
next 7th of October.
Well, I want to
I
get
can
back
send you.
to the
Oh
dictator
my
of
God! Like
Argentina,
you're
the
saying, like why
authoritarian
do
in
you give
charge of
so
our.
much? Why do you give so much virtue to a T group? Like whatever, when I say something along the lines of, yeah, I just saw the age group unalive 6 Palestinians, you're saying no, maybe they did it, right?
Because Ohad, what I
Yeah,
do is I wait until I can verify the information, and I don't think you're very honest. So this is based on my communications with you that
I
maybe
can
that
send you
happened,
a video of it.
but I don't know that yet, and I'll go ahead
I
and
can send you
I'll
two
look it
actually.
up.
I
You
can send
can
you two
feel free
videos
to
of that.
that's fine. I'm just saying, you think that you have a problem with me not believing something that you, a stranger, told me? You have a problem with that, Ohad?
You don't have any problem
Yeah,
taking
he loves
everything that the
authoritarianism.
organization said in face value. So of course, I have a problem with
Who's
how
doing
you
straw
conduct
man's
your
here? Now who's making straw
beliefs.
man's, Ohad?
How is it a strong man? Like you actually believe everything the age group said. Like just
That's the
yesterday.
straw man. Yeah, that's the one. The
Okay,
one you
okay.
just said.
Can I? This is the
That's
difference.
not
Let me
but
speak.
that's not true about me. That's
This is
not
the
true about
difference
me.
between
Yeah,
us.
we
When I say
denounce
something
age
like this,
group.
when
We
I
don't take
say something
advice
like this,
from
I can
them.
give examples of when you do it. When you say that
Wait,
I
hold on, be
support
quiet. Hold on, be quiet. Hold on, be quiet.
authoritarian,
I gotta mute you. All right,
give
listen.
any examples.
No, Ohad, this is the problem with you. Like, respectfully, I'm trying to have a conversation and you want to monologue. You said that we just accept what H word says, like we support them. We don't. That's the straw man. If you want to talk about individual things, like just don't add H word to it. Say, do you believe this? You can show me a story, whether or not I believe it. I'll look at, and if I don't know, then I'll look at all the details I possibly can find before I decide what I believe. But stop straw manning like we're just like H group sympathizers. We're not. We denounced them on October 7th. We've continued to denounce them since. We've been very consistent on that.
Like whatever you said in between, just was just like, okay, how can we keep them in power? Like everything that you believe in leads to this result.
You don't know what I believe in.
Okay, what do you think will end this conflict? Let's talk about it.
Well, I don't know what will end the conflict. I have some ideas of some things that I think should be tried, but I do think that the neighboring countries and the United States should put heavy pressure on the Israelis to find a peaceful solution to this.
Why
Because we have a
not
lot of
put
leverage with the
pressure
Israelis.
on
We
the
don't
age
have that
groups?
same leverage with everybody else, but we have a ton of leverage with the Israelis.
Who is going to put leverage on the age group?
Well,
Like, besides
yeah, so
military pressure, what is the pressure that you want to put on them? Like, you don't offer any actual, like,
we're not supporting them. We can do what we can do.
so you want to make a lot of pressure on Israel
Yeah.
while the age group still hold hostages, and you don't know what
Listen. Do you know
kind
what
of pressure
leverage
they can
is?
put on
Ohad,
kids.
do you know what leverage is?
I'm asking you, what kind of leverage can you put on the
Well,
age group?
do we fund H group?
Well, kinda. You find UNRWA.
What's that?
You founded UNRWA for quite a while.
I don't know what you're saying. UNRWA?
UNRWA.
Okay, I don't know what UNRWA is.
You really don't know a lot about this conflict. Like,
No, I
it's
don't.
founded.
No, I don't.
Okay, so why do you have so strong
Because
beliefs in it?
you defend the IDF, who's unaliving innocent people, and no
No, they don't.
matter what details you show me, I'm not going to support the wholesale unaliving of innocent people. Dude, this is easy. This is the easiest political point
No,
ever.
this virtue
Don't
signaling.
unalive innocent people, and you can
This is
you can
virtue
justify
signaling.
war all you want, but
Okay,
I
okay, okay.
won't.
This is
That's the
populism. This is virtue
difference.
signaling. This is like the most, like, you can't make the argument. So you just turn to okay, people dying is bad. Oh my God, I'm so brave. Like, this is your mind. This is your worldview. People dying
Yeah.
is bad. I'm so
Yeah.
brave that I said it. I
Yeah.
know, but you
Wait,
don't offer
hold on,
any
hold on. Shut
actual,
up. Shut up. Shut up.
offer
I
any
don't think. Shut
actual.
up. Shut up. And when I stop, you just stop. I'll let you go on again. My position is that you should never take innocent lives, and you should avoid at all costs the unaliving of innocent people. And Israel and the IDF has not done that, and either has H group, and I condemn both of them. But to sit here, like, my issue with you is that you act like this is one-sided, like only H group is bad, like the IDF isn't out there doing disgusting things as well, and they are. That's my main issue. I have a problem with anybody who sides wholly with H group or wholly with the IDF. I have a problem with both sets of people there, because at the end of the day, there are a bunch of innocent people who have nothing to do with this who are losing their lives. And I think that United States should use all leverage wherever they can. And I looked up UNRWA, it's United Nations, that's their Relief and Rehab Administration, right? You could have just said the UN. I didn't know about each of their branches. But yeah, like, we can also use the UN as a way to try and apply pressure. Yeah, we should use any type of levers we have for leverage for peace where we can.
Sticks and carrots.
How does it leverage peace, though? Like, how making sure that the age group stays in power brings peace to anyone?
Nobody's saying that.
But this is what you are doing.
No,
And this
I'm
is what you
not. No,
advocate for.
this is the conditioning that you've been given, that there is only one solution, and that solution involves wiping them off of the map. And that's what you've been told by warmongers. It's the same shit we were told by warmongers when we went to Iraq and when we went to Afghanistan. And you know
How
what
far is
happened,
Iraq
Ohad?
from
You know what we
America?
learned is every one of these regime change wars exposes a new regime who is more violent. And so if you want to get rid of
Because you're a
if
bunch
you
of
get rid of
idiots.
H group in this way, you know what's going to happen? There's going to be a new H group that's even worse, and they will be radicalized because you unalived 30,000 people, and most of those people were innocent. And what do you think their families think about the IDF? Do you think it's easier to radicalize somebody after you have just wholesale unalived their families, despite their families having anything to do with this conflict? No, it leads to more radicalization. My belief is
You're saying
regime
that I'm
change
on
wars don't work. And my belief in that is because they've never worked. So I want a different solution. And your solution is wipe them off the map. Let's do the same shit we've been doing forever. I get it. I think you're wrong.
Did it work with the Yazidis?
I don't know what you just said. Did it work with who?
The
The
Yazidis.
schmotsies. He said, did it work
schmotsies.
with the schmotsies?
What happened? Yeah, what happened after the schmotsies? Then what happened?
Germany got a lot better, I guess. like over the years, right?
Yeah, but are there schmazzies in Germany? And are they currently rising to power?
Yeah, the right flank is covered up.
Eventually, they come back.
Okay, if they come back in 100 years, okay, I
And
can have
usually
it.
it's
Like,
worse.
this is a good example, yes.
Well,
So
listen, regime change wars are our specialty. This is what we traffic in, whether they're proxy or shadow regime changes or more public ones. Like, again, we have tried this, and the biggest parallel is 9/11. No Americans on either side of the aisle feel good about 9/11. We don't look back and think, oh, acting brashly and bulldozing a country, all those things were a good idea. Like, hindsight is 2020, and we learned this lesson. And I'm saying in a huge way, on a larger scale, that's even, and it's still fresh in all of our minds. We know we know this doesn't work.
okay, just give me one like 30 minutes. So 40 seconds, sorry. So when you're speaking about Iraq, for example, okay, we are speaking about somewhere very, very, very far from the United States. When we are thinking about Gaza, okay, which been indiscriminately bombing Israel for the last 22 years, okay, we are speaking about a neighbor that is living probably like an hour and a half drive from Tel Aviv, which is one of the major cities in Israel. Okay, this is not the same. You can't
Well,
make
they
this
attacked us
comparison.
regardless of where they are. And we know it wasn't Iraq, right? It was the Saudis. But essentially, we were attacked on U.S. soil. So what different? I'm just drawing the parallel that you had October 7th, we had September 11th, we were attacked on U.S. soil, and every move we made after that, in hindsight, was a show.
Okay, how much time would it take a missile, okay, to go from Iraq to the United States?
That wasn't what that war was about. What are you talking about?
I'm asking you.
That's not even what that. No,
very
that's not
easy
what that.
question.
Why does that matter?
Because
It's just saying
you,
proximity. He's making the argument
so
that
you
like
can-
they're an imminent
you
danger
can do a G.
based on proximity to
Therefore,
the people
G.
they have in an open
Therefore,
field.
G side is okay.
Yes,
Got
he's
it.
making
Okay.
a
Justification
a
for G side.
proximity argument.
You're always going to this populist virtue signaling. Like, can we make
What
like
would
an
you
actual
call? What would you
like,
call the?
discussion?
What would you call the wholesale unaliving of over 30,000 people? What would you call that? Would you like us to use a different term?
Okay,
What term do you want,
let's
Ohad?
digest the number.
What
Okay,
term would you like me to use, Ohad?
I want you to digest the number first of all. Okay, first of all, this is a number coming from the age group. Second of all,
It's a number. Actually, it's a number that's coming from a lot of
Yeah,
people.
no, it's not.
And,
no,
and
it's coming from
nobody
the
has an
even the
exact
It's
UN,
not
number.
coming
even the
from
UN.
them. Stop
Like,
It's like
lying.
it's
Stop
coming from the age
lying.
group.
Stop
No,
lying.
I'm not
No, it's
lying. You can check
not.
it out.
No,
You can
it's
check it out.
not. No, it's
No,
not.
it's not. There's
No,
UN.
it's
There's
not.
there's independent.
No,
No,
it's
there's
not.
there's independent investigations that have been done on this. Like this, you're just all propagandized. You want to blame everything on age group. Just because age group and other people come
Give me
to a
one.
similar
Give me
number doesn't
one.
mean that they're just taking age group's word for it.
Give me one. Just
The
one.
UN.
Just one.
The
Just
UN. The
UN.
UN. Okay, Jen,
Can
let
I
him go.
speak?
Well, yeah, but you have to wait until other people are
Can I
done. You
speak?
keep screaming.
No, but you're saying that the UN. Okay, who is the UN quoting? The
What's
Gaza
that?
Ministry of Health. Okay, who runs the Gaza Ministry of Health?
No, they're not only quoting the Gaza Ministry of Health. That's a lie.
They are.
No,
You
they're
can look it up.
not. No, they're
No,
not.
you
They've done
can look it up
independent.
right
No,
now.
you're wrong. No, you're wrong about that.
You
They've done
can look it up
independent
right now.
investigations.
If
You're
you think
absolutely
that I'm
wrong
lying to
about
you,
that.
check it out.
I have checked it out. That's why I know you're
No,
wrong,
you
dummy.
didn't. You can't give me a single name.
All right, I'm done with Ohad. You want to talk to him?
You can't give me a single name. You didn't check it out. The
Fucking
only name
did,
that you
dude.
can give me is
What do
the
you think the
Ministry of Health
UN
of
is?
Gaza.
Okay, United Nations.
They are quoting, and in their website it's written, okay, that they are quoting the Ministry of Health of Gaza. And the Ministry of Health of Gaza is run by the age group because they are the government. Thank you. And we also need to discuss about the fact that a lot of...
Hey, shut up. I'm reading something. Be quiet.
I know. That's what I'm not ignoring you. You're saying something and you want me to
just
look at
finish
this.
my argument if I can.
Shut up.
You are a crybaby. This
Shut
is
up.
what you do. I said
Have a little
you
bit
are
of self-control. I'm reading something and I have ADHD, so I don't want you yet. I don't want you in my ear while I'm reading something. So be respectful and shut up for a minute. Thank you. All right, so I'm pulling up the UN numbers here. And I'm going to pull up where they're getting their source.
Well, okay, so I found an article. So yeah, so it's called, and everyone can look this article up. It's by Associated Press. What is Gaza's Ministry of Health, and how does it calculate the war's death toll? And it goes into like all of that. But I was just looking at the bottom two paragraphs where it says the ministry is the only official source for Gaza's casualties. Israel has sealed Gaza's borders, barring foreign journalists and humanitarian workers. I mean, but the Palestinian journalists inside are centrally sources as well. But as far as like if you're saying on the ground, like what outside, well, those journalists cannot do a comprehensive account. Oh, yeah. The AP is among a small number of international news organizations with teams in Gaza. While those journalists cannot do a comprehensive count, they've viewed large numbers of bodies at the sites of airstrikes, morgues, and funerals. The United Nations and other international institutions and experts, as well as Palestinian authorities in the West Bank, rivals of Hamas, say the Gaza Ministry has long made a good faith effort to account for the dead under the most difficult conditions. So,
And just disclaimer, this is what it says on the UN's webpage. The current numbers have been provided by the Ministry of Health or Government Media Office in Gaza and the Israeli authorities and await further verification. It's also verified when they go through OCHA, which is the Office of Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs. They have people on the ground there that are trying to verify this information, and that's why I say 30,000 and not a specific
If
number,
you
because
go to
nobody has the specific
OCHA,
number.
you will
But
see
you
but
lied.
no,
Shut
Ohad,
up,
what
dude!
they're
Not in the
saying,
middle of sentences.
yeah,
Ohad, what you said is that they rely on Gaza. They don't. They say they rely on the Ministry of Health or Government Media Office in Gaza and Israeli authorities. They're relying on both. Ohad, you lied. Why are you lying?
Can I speak now
I
before you
want to
mute
know
me
why
well,
again?
you
wait,
lied
can I
about
say
that. Why
one
Okay, I
thing
you?
and
want to
then you
answer
can
you. Can I
speak?
do that?
Well, I just
Okay,
I just
so
want to say one
No,
thing.
Felice is gonna go.
Like the point is like the point I'm trying to make and what they're saying here is that like yes, we have a small team of journalists in Gaza. They are viewing the sites when these casualties, or let's say we could say carpet bombings, Ohad doesn't like that, whatever happened, they go and view casualties. If they thought the number was off, right? Like I mean, there've been many times where journalists say like the death toll is off. From what we're seeing here on the ground, the numbers that are coming out of X seem off. Like that's not the case. These different sources are all saying this seems to be in line based on what we're seeing.
can I respond now? Thank you very much. So when you are saying, like you just said exactly what I said, and you lied about the OCHA or whatever they are, I just remember the website because I went there, and I know that it's also Gaza Ministry of Health. You can look up their website right now, you will see it.
I said that.
And
I said that, dummy. I said the Ministry of Health or Government Media Office in Gaza, the Gaza Ministry of Health, and the Israeli authorities. You
no, the
left out
Israeli
the
authority
Israeli authorities.
absolutely
You left the part out,
refuted.
Ohad. You're the
The
one being dishonest. I
Israeli
read the whole
authorities
thing.
absolutely
You
refuted the
stopped.
numbers.
What's
The
that?
Israeli authorities absolutely refuted. Like
That
you
well,
can't claim
wait,
this
hold on.
statement
Hold on.
is
Wait,
true.
hold on. Why would I trust the people doing the bombing to give me an accurate count?
Okay, let's go back
No,
to
I'm just
history.
wondering. Explain to me why I should trust the IDF to give me an accurate count of how many enemy civilians or I guess infantry were taken out. Why would I trust their numbers?
Well, they do have like confirmation on T is being unalived, but I don't like. I want to go far beyond this point, okay, and let's go through previous wars, okay, and I can give you
No,
an
no, no. We're
example.
going to stay on this war.
No, I just want to give you an example when age group just lied every single war. Like you're
Okay,
trying to say.
but wait, you understand, Ohad, that like Israel, the IDF, I like you and I can go back and forth. I can show you point after
Yeah.
point after point of the IDF
Hmm.
also lying. Again, my position
About
is not that H group is good or the H group tells the truth.
no, but you're trying to morally equivalence the IDF.
My position is that people need to stop dying. So
I
I
know
don't
that
really
you're
care.
being
Like
Sicilian. I know that
you
you
can
can't
point to
make
those
a
lies
discussion
all
because
you
you already
want,
know
and I'm going to point to
confidence
the
because it's so
IDF,
easy.
and we're going to
Like
leave
this
in
is
the
the
same
easiest
place we
way
were
to
before.
conduct this conversation. Just say, oh, people dying is bad. Let's stop that. But you won't stop it because it won't stop the war. Okay, you will just prolong it even longer because the age group will just attack in 2 years because they don't have a mindset that say, okay, we need to care about our own civilians.
Do you
No, they
think?
just want to
Yeah, but here's
wipe
the
out all
thing.
the Jews of the planet.
Here's
Okay,
the thing.
like they don't
H
have
group.
any rational
Shut up. There
thought
you go.
process.
H group came to power, and they were able to rise to power because the Palestinian people were under the thumb of the Israelis forever, and they made a bad decision. Those who voted for H group and said like, hey, we want a little bit of power behind our name. We want somebody who's going to act like, yeah, maybe that was a mistake, but this was a reaction because of years of people of the Israelis shitting on them. Again, like we can do this. We can go back and forth, and then you can point out a time when H group did something wrong, and I can point out to IDF, and it's a fruitless conversation. It doesn't matter. It's never ending. It's a revolving door. At the end of the day, I'm seeing a number that says 13,000 children have lost their lives, and you're up here saying, sorry, that's just the way it is. That's what we have to do. We can't advocate for a peaceful solution because they will just keep coming back, so
Don't
we must
advocate for
wipe them
peaceful
off the
solution.
face of this planet, and I disagree with you. I do not think that we need to unalive innocent people just to get rid of H group. I think like do a better job with your government. But no, don't go unalive innocent people. That should be so easy, Ohad. We should be able to agree on that.
When you say that the age group, like you're just saying about the age group, but for years the Palestinians have been electing Ts to govern them. You have the Fayadins, okay? I hope that I say their name correct.
I'm muting you because I said I don't want to go back and forth about the history and who did what, because it's a fruitless conversation and it's never ending, and I don't care. And I don't think that I don't really want to hear you justify the unaliving of 13,000 children. I'm not interested in that conversation, Ohad. There are places you can go and bore people to death. I'm not interested in that conversation. I've seen it a million times. It's fruitless. You think your side is right and they think their side is right. And I think that you, like those who support the IDF and those who support H group, are the same. You are both T groups. And
So
I don't
this is holding
particularly
your
care
hand
which
for
one of
quite a
you is the
while. Maybe
worst.
let us
I don't
speak.
particularly care which one of you is the worst T
Maybe
group,
let your
but in this
co-host
instance,
speak.
statistically, it's the IDF.
Can you let your co-host speak? She's
Yeah,
raising her hand.
I just wanted to add something to this conversation that I think could be of value. So, there's a Washington Post article called "For Biden, a Tough Call Looms on Whether Israel Violated Laws in Gaza." So, this is a really long article. I don't want to go into it, but what it is about is there's a report coming out tomorrow where basically that's going to say whether or not Israel has violated the law in this conflict, in this war. So that could be something to look for because it's going to be it has huge implications for the election, blah blah blah. But I was reading this morning. It's fascinating. The Biden administration is expected to notify Congress this week whether it believes Israel has violated U.S. or international law in Gaza, a determination with significant moral and political stakes for President Biden. The forthcoming report, portions of which are expected to be made public after its transmission to Capitol Hill on Wednesday, arrives at a difficult time for U.S.-Israeli relations as Israeli tanks rolled into the southern Gaza city of Rafah overnight Monday. So, blah, blah, blah. A finding by the administration that Israel has violated U.S. or international law will almost certainly amplify calls for a suspension of American military aid and is sure to anger conservatives who have railed against American criticisms of the Jewish state, as well as centrist political donors and many as Biden mounts a difficult reelection bid. So I think that I just wanted to sort of add something of value and say there is a report that will, make an actual claim that we can all pore over that's coming out probably hopefully end of day tomorrow or Thursday.
Oh, okay.
So, well, because we're arguing over sources or if the IDF is lying or H group is lying, it just seems, you know what I'm saying? So this will be from the US State Department saying, here's what our investigation shows. So I think that could be an interesting tool to continue this conversation. But yeah, we could all go back and forth pointing out like this was propaganda, this was propaganda. Wartime is that it's about propaganda.
Okay, I will ask you. I will ask you this: do you think that the H group, okay, is helping Palestinians in any way?
In terms of
Genuine
what?
question. Like bettering their lives in some way, or helping them, or
With this conflict and what's going on? No, I don't think
in
I don't
general.
think this is bettering anyone's life. No.
Okay, what do you think would be the appropriate way to put them out of power?
I've talked about this so many times, Ohad. Like history aside, not debating how we got here. We're here, right? I am saying we have seen this before. The US does regime change wars over and over and over, and all we do is wreak devastation. No one feels good about it in hindsight. We're never like, great regime change war. Like that was super necessary. I denounce anti Semitism. I believe that we should provide Israel with defensive weapons with which to defend themselves. I do not believe that this needs to continue any further. I want a ceasefire. That's what I
Okay, but
believe is prudent.
I respect your opinion, but I think it's kind of deflectionary because you are not really answering. You're saying, okay, we know that regime changes in the past were disastrous, but like, how do you actually make a regime change in Gaza? Like, do you think it's appropriate to
You
ask
guys
for
are
a
gonna,
regime change
yeah,
of
how can
Gaza?
we, Ohad? I agree. You guys are, another group's gonna rise up. Obviously, Hamas isn't gonna be in charge again. Another group will rise up, will fund it, and then eventually, years down the road, this will happen with that group. That's what I'm saying. But we don't need to have a G side happen. Like, there's no answer for you, Ohad. When is enough enough? If you won't even agree on a number, we can't even have the conversation of if justice has been served. Like, it's the only thing you will discuss is total eradication. That is crazy for me. Like,
Yeah,
I
I
don't know how to have a
Eradication of the
conversation
age
with
group.
someone who is wholly unreasonable. You won't negotiate. I can't
I
negotiate
will
with
give
you.
you my view, okay? I think this war can end, okay? Because obviously RTP really wants to hear this. So I think that the age group should be eliminated completely and utterly, and then we can make some kind of an agreement with the Saudis and
And
the
not any of the
UAE
Palestinians, because they won't be
and
around.
the UAE. The Palestinians are for years, for many, many years, and this is the reason why 70% of Palestinians support the age group, have been radicalized beyond belief. And I can give you many, many sources for this, and you literally just look on like
You're arguing for the
footage from Gaza.
eradication of an indigenous
yeah,
people.
like
That's
you're
a
not.
No,
very dangerous
what are you
thing you're
speaking
doing,
about? I
Ohad.
just told you that I want to eliminate the age group, and the first thing you say,
Yeah,
you want to eliminate
your
the
way of
Palestinians.
eliminating the H group is taking out all the innocent bystanders too, dude. Like this is exactly what you're saying. You're telling us, hey, unless you give me a concrete plan that I'm going to accept, which you won't, no matter what plan we presented to you, you would not accept it. And you're saying, in order for us to stop this violence,
You
we
never
need a
offer one.
concrete plan. And we're saying, how about you guys fix it first? Right? Like
What
you're
concrete what
no, no, no,
concrete
no, no,
plan
no.
did you
There
offer?
is, what excuse do you have for the unaliving of
What concrete plan did you offer
13,000
to
children.
battle that?
I just want the justification for the loss of life of 13,000 people. What are you using to justify that? Children.
Again, I will say every single life that has been taken is a tragedy. But
I know, but
if you
but
actually
you're
look at the
justifying it. So I
numbers,
want to know what your
if,
justification is.
because I know that if we don't remove the age group, it will just be another 7th of October, another conflict. This will go on
So
forever and forever.
therefore innocent people must die so that some of your people don't die. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that if we actually want to get peace at some day, okay, we need to remove
The IDF.
the AGP from power because they
We
can't
need
be
to remove your
negotiated
entire
with.
government. Your entire government also needs to
Stop
be
with the
removed.
populism. Why are you like
You are
this?
equally as bad as H group.
Why are you
Bibi
like this? And
Netanyahu
stop with the moral equivalency.
Netanyahu
It
is
makes
every
you look
bit
like a fool.
he's every bit the terrorist that H group is. Like, it's crazy, dude.
Yes, the IDF goes on and behead people and rape
What's the
women and
difference?
whatever
What's the
they
difference
do.
between the two? They were both elected, right? They were both elected by the people. H group launched an attack. Bibi launched an attack. Bibi's attack seems to have 30x'd the amount that H group did. What's the difference here? They're both the same, dude.
Can I answer you?
Yeah, what's the difference?
One is deliberate, okay, deliberate torturing, beheading, raping, and unaliving of people.
These were accidental bombs. The bombs were accidental, I think.
Yeah,
Those were not
still,
deliberate
I'm
bombs.
so tired of
that was
this.
accidental. Those were accidental. Yeah, Ohad, shut up forever. You're done with this platform. Go find somewhere else. Yeah. We didn't mean it. We didn't mean it when we carpet bombed Gaza. It was not deliberate. That's so stupid.
You can't negotiate, with extremism. That's the problem. That's scary.
All right. Retired one.
Guys, keep tapping the screen.
Oh.
Hi.
How's everybody doing today?
Good. What's up? Is this Jeffrey?
No. Yeah, it's the retired one.
Oh.
Okay. Yes, I had to put away the hat of the greatness because I had never been beaten, and sometimes you just gotta retire, you know?
Yeah.
It's the way the cookie crumbles. RTP, you're looking awful tan. Your teeth are awful white. What is going on?
I think it's just the light. I think it's the lighting. It makes everything a little tanner and a little.
It's Ohad.
Wearing...
He makes Jay red.
Right. That could be it.
Maybe it's that taurine in that monster, big boy.
That could be it too. This is a terrible flavor. This white flavor is horrendous.
Someone's saying you said you were leaving TikTok, Jeff. Did you?
I did. I left TikTok. I left TikTok as the greatest, and I was reborn a phoenix. And my main account is now called Mr. Rational Debater. That's my new name, by the way.
And much like the last title, it does not describe the person who is presenting. Yeah.
Agree to disagree.
Yeah.
Man, I've been listening.
You liked your debate with Rational Boomer so much you named yourself after him?
Yes, it's this is what I do when I when I destroy people in debates. What I do is I take their name, and soon I might have to take one of your guys' names.
Well, you're already taking all my catchphrases and half my arguments. You might as well just take my name too. You took my whole personality and gave everybody a Temu version.
Right, I'm gonna be like trying to look like RTP soon enough. Only if RTP had the biceps to go along with it. But I think that would be the dead giveaway there, and also the big brain. I mean, my brain it's huge, huge, and I only use 10% of it. Think if I used a little bit more, holy shit! Like I would probably be president next year.
Yeah, like what if you do facts?
And it's not even a voting year.
That'd be crazy if you used your brain to get like facts. That'd be cool. Have you thought about?
I'd rather.
Have you thought about taking your opinions and adding facts to them? Have you put any thought into that?
I don't usually give my opinion. I only give facts. Is usually what I give.
Yesterday, I saw you in Kofefi House Politics Live or whatever. I almost got off my raft in the pool of enjoying my time with Devil's Lettuce, got my headphones to go just debunk the lies you were spewing in there. You just talk fast and run over people.
No, I pose questions. I don't make definitive statements. Right. That's a good way to get like,
Yeah,
if you leave it open, you got to leave it open ended. You know what I
but
mean?
that's also why like people get so frustrated with you because it's not. People do want to have a discussion. You don't. You just want to like. You're just a chaos agent. I've never once had a discussion with you about anything substantive ever.
We talked so many times. Holy
I
shit!
know, and not once have
Your
we
first
talked
live on
about.
TikTok.
Yeah, but we never talk about anything substantive because I think, truthfully, I think you're afraid to be wrong. So anytime you get to an area where you're uncomfortable, you just change the subject or deflect, or you draw an insane conclusion that nobody was saying. I do
I
think, Jeff.
disagree.
I think that
I
you.
think
I
I
think that the right desperately needs somebody on TikTok that can present their points, and I think you should be that person, but you should abandon the personality where you don't talk about anything and instead just do the research and be the person on the right. There's nobody on the right that can debate. They all suck. Every one of them sucks. And like if you just research some facts, that could be your role.
Yeah, but here's the thing, like, I believe it or not, I mean, I've been steeped in this since fucking what, 20, ever since Trump lost. Like, I've done so much research. All I did was sit there and fucking read about it all day, like
I
24/7.
don't believe you. Honestly, I don't believe
But
you.
here's the thing about me. No, I mean, believe me. Like,
You had done research,
but,
you'd be
but
a
here's the thing about me,
Democrat by
right?
now.
I can do, and hear me out here. I can do the research, but if I'm not
But
using
it
it,
can't
I
sink
lose it.
in.
No, if I don't use it, I lose it. Right. So, I go and work, most all day, you could say that. And then I come and I get on TikTok. And look, if I had the time and the resources, maybe it would be a little bit different. Not that what you guys do is awesome. And I'm a little bit jealous, honestly. I think you guys
Well, that's what I'm
say
saying.
something
You
great.
could if you
But,
just did some research, like people would take you more seriously. And then you
dude,
could
well,
have like quality debates. The problem with a lot of these spaces, like I'm not going to go into a ton of the right wing spaces. You can't even go into like the second you disagree with them, it's anger or it's deflection. Like there's very few right wingers I feel like I can have a discussion with. You could be that guy. You could fill that role. You could be the great one. You could change from retired one to the great one. You could be number 99. You could use all sorts of Wayne Gretzky alliterations. But instead, you
I just
just
don't.
it's
I
like a
don't get
bad
why.
Trump
Do you think?
impression.
Be honest. Do you think I can't read? Do you think I can't take in
No,
information?
No,
Do you
you
think I
can
can't
read.
learn? I mean,
no, I
am I
think
not well spoken?
Oh,
Do I
you
no, I
have
not
a
think you
really, you have a good
articulate?
aptitude for learning.
no, I think you don't
Yeah.
read. Not that you can't read.
Well, I mean, I look, the way I garner information. I do read, but I don't read, like, to be fair. Like, I don't sit there and fucking read a book every day.
That'd
But
be impressive though. That'd be
I
pretty
saw
amazing.
what I am is I'm a problem solver. That's what I
Oh,
do. Is I solve problems. And I solve a lot of complex problems every single day that are much more well, I mean, I wouldn't say much more. I mean, I would say the human mind is more complex and more difficult to solve than any problem. So maybe
yeah, I
I'll
hear
work on
you.
that one. But yeah, I can solve complex mechanical problems that would kill somebody else in less than 30 seconds if they made one wrong move. You know what I mean? I have this kind of
Yeah,
brain. I have that type of and look, the way I take in information, I'm not your average Joe, right?
that's true.
I'm very you could I like to keep things simple. I like to keep things basic for people, right? And that's the
Jeff,
best way to have a
Jeff, I
conversation.
just want you to know something. What we're giving to you right now, we're not trying to debate. We're trying to give you like as friends, we're giving you honest feedback and you're arguing all of it. And it just
No,
gets old.
I'm
I'm just being honest, Jeff. Like I'm trying to be sincere right now.
dude, if I
I
gave
I
you
don't no listen, wait, Jeff. This
sorry,
is the
go.
thing. See, you're still talking over me.
My bad, my bad.
I have stopped enjoying conversations with you because we don't
Oh, that's
talk
pretty
about
fun with me
anything.
now.
It's just become chaos. Like you
It's
don't talk about anything. And
like,
frankly, I do think this stuff is important
no, you were
and it's
talking
not
about
very
salary
fun
for an hour
anymore.
today. Like, holy shit. Like, and RTP, this is what you do, right? Can I critique you for a
Please
second? This is
don't
what you do.
remind us
Sure.
As
of
soon
one of
as
the
you
worst
come up
times of our
with
lives.
right. Well, I listened to it, and this is like the
I
fourth or
tried.
fifth.
I was just trying to be a good
I had a
friend.
migraine.
And he makes actually decent points, even though he's Canadian, right? I think Canadians have a better understanding.
Tyler was remarkably. Tyler was literally saying what we should do on climate change is believe a couple fringe scientists, and we should discredit the rest of the scientific community, like the 99% of the scientific community. We should discredit them because there's a few outliers. It was a remarkably dumb argument. For you to say he made good points when that
No,
was
I
his
don't.
argument is kind of crazy. Like
Well,
it's on. Did you hear him bring any facts? Like I asked him about parts per million. I understood about the CO2 levels when they were at their highest. I understood what was safer for
that's
humans.
fair. I
He
did
didn't
hear
have
that.
any facts. Yeah,
That
he
is
was.
fair. I was impressed by
But
that.
that's what I'm saying, dude. I think that
You
you
know
hear
what?
things that you like and you agree with, and you assume that they're good points, but they're not. And that's again, I'm just trying to give you feedback here. I would love to debate you. I would love to platform. I would love to come on your. I'm desperate for a place where I can have a platform and debate people. I want to do that. I'm just telling you, it's not. It stopped being fun with you like a long time ago because we don't talk about real issues. And my opinion is it's because when we get into the weeds, you don't know because you haven't done the research, and that's fine. You're busy. You have a job, and it's a demanding job. But that's all I'm saying. It's not that
I
fun
mean,
anymore.
fair enough, but I mean, to make if yeah, we get into the weeds about certain minutia. I guess I could. I mean, look, like I knew everything about. I fucking, for example, I was in a debate yesterday, and I read up on, and I read it a few times, the Budapest Memorandum, right? But it was a long. It was like probably like 2 or 3 months ago, and all that shit just leaves. Like, and now all of a sudden, someone's like asking me questions about it. They're like, oh, he doesn't know anything about it. No, actually, I've read up on it a few times. But again, if I don't use it in debate, I just lose it, right? And it just doesn't stick with me. So even if I did read up on shit, like unless I'm debating on it every single.
Hey, Jeff.
To be fair,
Let's.
RTP, I'll give you
Yeah.
this.
No. Let's
Can I
finish.
give
No,
you
wait.
this?
No, hold on. Let's finish this
Go ahead.
conversation. I'll even come to your platform where we can have this conversation. There's somebody named Tez here who said they're a black conservative. They'd love to talk. I just want to introduce myself to Tez before we leave, and then we can maybe
Oh, you're
set something
good.
up. But you and I can finish this conversation later, okay?
Later, guys.
All right. Thanks, brother. Hey, Tez. Thank you so much for
Hey,
alleviating us. Appreciate it.
yeah, how y'all doing?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I've actually been on HVAC's page before. It was very
It's an
interesting.
adventure.
Yeah, he didn't really he kind of sat back and let me talk to the other people. So I mean I didn't really hear a lot of his viewpoints, but I appreciate him for at least letting me speak from the conservative perspective, especially as a black man. So
Yeah.
um
Are you kind of new to the app? I haven't come across you before, I don't think. So I don't. Are you
yeah,
newish?
yeah, I'm relatively new and I focus on music. I'm a singer-songwriter.
Oh, dope.
But obviously I have a 9 to 5 also since it's very difficult to get into music. So I
Okay.
work with Kubernetes infrastructure, IT.
Oh, cool. All right. Smarter than me.
Well, I
But yeah,
followed you as well, so.
oh, let me follow you. I'm sorry. I didn't
All
even
right.
I got you. Um, so I think like when I'm looking at what's behind you, it says tell us why you won't vote for Biden. Um, and I try to make these things less about the figurehead and more about the path that the party is looking to go down. And
Okay.
historically, for me, I have seen continuous like I don't know if you want to call it race baiting or just the highlighting of the struggle for black people amongst the Democratic Party without a path towards progress. Now, I understand that they mentioned, and a lot of people say, hey, it's great to talk about what's wrong. Um, but there's challenges when you talk about what's wrong without a legitimate plan to fix it. So, just one thing
What would be an example of that?
yeah, so like for example, like we've been pushing in the black community for welfare reform, right? This is something that we want to adjust, and this is something that I
What
find
do you
to
mean?
be
What do you want to adjust? Like what?
s- so the level of comfort that you can have by maintaining a certain status. So if you stay at a certain threshold for income, you get to live a better life than trying to push yourself out of that and to be self-sufficient. So when we look at, welfare reform and we look at welfare in general, the number one response from people is that, oh, the majority of white people are on welfare. Yeah, but it doesn't account for the percentage of self-sufficient white people versus black people. So it's a difference when we
You
look.
mean the total number of white people is higher, but you're saying as a
Right, yeah.
percent, it's more important to look at it as a percentage.
Right, right. So
I agree with
like
that. Yeah.
yeah, so we talk about 70% of there's like let's say what is it 40% are white that actually are on welfare, and around 23 to 24% of black people are on welfare, or make up the welfare number. But the problem is,
But that's all, and that's only if we're talking about when we say welfare, we're saying like Social Security, disability,
mhm,
Medicare, Medicaid. We're of course not
WIC,
talking
all those
about
things.
like corporate welfare, right? The
Right.
billions and billions. Okay, cool.
Right. So then that's an alarming thing. So when you start talking about corporate welfare, that makes the statistic look even more wild because that applies, overwhelmingly to the white community.
Okay.
So when we look at it, we're looking at just not even including that, only 75% of black people being self-sufficient and making it off of welfare and never being on welfare, whereas 93% of white people are self-sufficient and not on welfare. Does that make sense, kind of how that's different?
Yeah, but yes, and I think that like that's a broader conversation about like why those numbers are like we
Right.
maybe disagree why those numbers exist, but when you say welfare reform, like you're a conservative, what kind of reform do you find that the Republicans are suggesting that makes you think like I'd rather vote conservative?
Right. So perfect. So I want to make sure that I continue with the separation between the two. So the reasons why I won't vote for the Democratic Party don't necessarily align with the reasons why I would vote for the Republican Party. Does that make sense?
No, that doesn't make a
Okay.
lot of sense.
Okay. So check this out. So if I focus on like things that I do want accomplished, so if I had 10 policies that were most important to me, and say the Republican Party, they passed, four policies that I really care about. The Democrats have passed two that I really care about. They don't necessarily have to be in conflict with each other. They, like, for example, if I don't want, if I don't like how the Democrats are handling welfare, that doesn't mean that I like how the Republicans are handling welfare, because they pretty much
No,
want to
it
strip most of
doesn't.
it.
But if you're using that as a reason not to vote against them, or not to vote for them, and then you vote for somebody who has worse ideas, it's confusing to me. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
Like it seems to me if that's how you operate, what you're actually doing is just saying things about Democrats that are fair criticisms, and you're just finding things to criticize Democrats for, but they don't seem to be the real issues that bother you. Like, what are the issues that you actually care about most?
Yeah. So I can tell you about that. So like when we talk about just even welfare, I still have an opinion on what the Republicans view about welfare. So a lot of it wants to eliminate a lot of the things that and like I said, I'm speaking from the community that I was raised in, so I know it's not the same for everybody. But as far as what the Republicans want to do is eliminate a lot of the welfare
Yeah.
um, that exists, which to a lot of
Well,
people they're like,
only for poor people. They want to
right,
increase the welfare for rich people. They want
right,
more welfare for rich, less welfare for poor people.
right. So they
Right.
definitely have a
And
trickle
you
down
like that. And you
methodology.
like that. That's like a good thing for you.
Like when you say when you because I don't group things together in that way.
Well, you
Uh,
should.
well, not necessarily. So if you were to look at just
It
the
does.
poor people,
Hold on, real quick, because this corporate, like when you attach corporate welfare, you look at the history of our country giving corporate welfare. You know what it like directly coincides with? Wealth disparity and the rise of the need for welfare for poor people. Like because these people who are receiving insane amounts of corporate welfare don't pay people enough money to have a living wage. We then have welfare. Like it expands. It's something like $80 billion a year goes to Walmart employees. Meanwhile, the Waltons can buy the Denver Broncos for cash they found in their couch. And I mean, like those two things go together. You realize that, right? That
It
the rise in the need for welfare, we wouldn't need welfare if trickle down economics worked. We wouldn't need it except for people who couldn't work, maybe were on disability, right? Or there may be a few people who didn't want to work, and then we could decide what we want to do with the people who don't want to work. But this rise in welfare is because we give so much corporate welfare to these corporations, and it doesn't trickle down.
right. So and when we talk about this, when we look at the statistics on the welfare piece, when in relation to being self-sufficient and making it off or never being on welfare, Like, so when I look at the Republican Party and trying to eliminate some of these welfare programs for the poor, so there are some people who will believe that, eliminating it will destroy everybody that's poor. And then there are other people who believe that if you eliminate it, people will be forced to go out and provide for themselves in a way that they haven't explored before because of the comfort that they benefit from today.
And what if you're wrong?
It's rough,
What
but
like what if we eliminate welfare, it turns out that the rich just keep hoarding the money and then these people just starve and die? What then?
right,
Are you
right. So
like, do you think the data is good enough for you to risk like millions of people just dying? Do you think you have good enough data to back that?
do you so the dying part, I want to touch on that.
Hey,
Like,
one second. I have
yeah.
to take my father to a
Yeah,
doctor's
yeah.
appointment. I have to go. Okay.
Hey,
Thanks,
Thank
Felicia.
you.
appreciate for
Have a
letting
good
me
day.
up. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
you can keep
Uh,
going.
yeah. So like, that's a good point. I think that when we explore, the idea of people being unalived as a result of it, I'm curious as to what your perspective is on how it would lead to that.
Yeah, if people are unable to afford food and shelter, eventually, like, they will likely die because of that.
Yeah, so I think that I mean before these programs existed, in masses the way they are today, I think people did find ways to survive, and it mainly came from a community
Yeah.
aspect.
Yeah, but wait, what also existed at that time?
I'm not sure what you're referring to.
Not corporate welfare. That they like, we had times in this country that were our most successful where, like, the top tax rate was 90%. The structure of our economy was different. People who started businesses, even people who got filthy rich like Henry Ford, they were still, because of their tax structure, they were incentivized to pay people more money, right? And there were
Yes,
people, it was easier to start a business. Right now, like, think about it. Do you own your own business currently?
I did. I no longer.
Okay.
I relocated, so now I don't, but I will in a couple months.
Let's just think about some big businesses that exist. Something like, well, I'll choose one, like an oil change, like, or an automotive shop, right?
Right.
Do you think it would have been easier to start an automotive shop that's competitive now, or an automotive shop that was competitive in the 1970s?
Absolutely 1970s. Yeah, I'm not. I'm
Why?
not.
Why?
Because when you start monopolizing with these large organizations, it makes it very difficult for small businesses to compete.
Right.
Yeah, I'm aware of
And
that for
is
sure.
that, and that monopolization, that corporate welfare that allows these companies to obtain so much wealth that they are able to either compete and kick people out of the market, or buy people out of the market, or just like crush the market, right? Where I grew up, in a smallish town in Utah, like, we had three different grocery stores, we had three or four different tire centers, we had some bookstores, we had a candy store, we had a produce, like two different produce stores. All of those within 10 years of Walmart showing up, they were all gone. And all the customers were now at Walmart. And Walmart's paying people bare minimum, not even a living wage. And all those good paying jobs and all those people who owned businesses, they were gone.
Right. Right.
and
So
and that's and that when you allow people to amass that kind of wealth, that they want to keep amassing wealth, and that's what we've seen here, these and that's what Donald Trump is saying. He's saying the solution to all of this, to all the problems that we have right now, is that he's going to go, and he's going to go slash taxes for the 1%. We know it
right.
doesn't work.
So okay, so there's a few things that we got to make sure we explore when we talk about that, because you're talking about the consequence and not about the infrastructure of it itself. And what I mean by that is, what is the reason why Walmart is capable of putting these small businesses out of business?
Capital.
Okay, so what is that result for them? How are they able to do that? So when we talk about how they're able to purchase
Yeah, so they have purchasing power, which means that they can charge less for food. They can negotiate better deals because of their buying power. They negotiate better deals because of their buying power and the money they have, and infrastructure. They're able to get goods quickly. They also don't pay their workers very much, so they can increase their revenues that way. And they're publicly traded, so people can invest money into Walmart, and they can make money that way. They can make up the differences. But like in my town, what Walmart did, and what we're seeing now, is Walmart, anytime they go anywhere, like, they want these rock bottom prices. They want their prices low enough that you are incentivized not to go to the neighborhood grocery store, you want to go there, and that's how they get that market share. And once they have it, once they have cornered that market, what do you think they're going to do with prices? Because they're still going to have to answer to their shareholders. Do you think their shareholders are suddenly going to be okay with them having lower profits? No, the shareholders are going to demand more in profits. So what are they going to do? They're going to cut employee benefits. They're going to make people go to part time. It's always the worker that gets hurt.
Right, right. So that's fair, and I definitely acknowledge that, and I think that we are you familiar with when manufacturers create like fair market price, like where they restrict what you're allowed to sell their goods for?
Yeah,
So
kind of
like
like what Tesla did with the Cybertruck.
right, and an iPhone
Yeah,
does it today,
yeah.
and so what? Why do they do that?
Well, if we're talking about like in those companies, like it's to protect their profits.
So they're making no, it's not protecting their profits because if it's a third party that's selling these items, then it's not protecting their profit. Their profit
Right,
is
but
made at
they
the point of
make
sale.
right, but they make more money from an Apple store than they would, let's say, from a like a Verizon booth, because they have to pay Verizon commissions, right? So if they don't set that price and Verizon undersells them, then they're losing profit. So they set the price specifically because they have retailers that they also have to pay, and they don't want anybody to be able to undersell them and make money where like Apple wouldn't be selling it for that same price. It protects your profits.
So could you see how in a manufacturing thing when it comes to like things like Walmart, if there was a fair market price, that it could improve the situation for small businesses?
Like for the cost of good, like let's say let's use eggs. Like if eggs were the same price everywhere,
Right.
yeah, nobody would go to Walmart.
Right,
Like
right. So
Walmart, that's how bad of a business Walmart is. If you could get all the stuff you get at Walmart from somewhere else, nobody would fucking go to Walmart.
right. Right. So and this is what I mean. I and understand that I 100% understand where you're coming from. I'm just trying to find like, are there ways for us to remedy this, um, without eliminating, capitalism as itself.
Well,
Um,
there's two things to remember. One, Democrats are almost like almost exclusively not socialist. The amount of actual socialists in the Democrat Party is growing, but that makes
yeah.
sense because capitalism has become crony capitalism. But I think that you use these other economic theories. I'm not somebody who believes that one economic theory is perfect or that one economic theory should be like the drive. Like we don't have capitalism. This isn't free market capitalism. We have a mixed economy, and we have to use the mixed economy as a way to make things fair. Right now it's unfair, it's imbalanced.
Right.
The corporations have more power than like most people in the government. They certainly have more power than us. So
Right.
we need to use the government. The government is our tool to control our environment. We have to use the government in order to rebalance that. Like people need to have a fair shot, and the way to do that is going to be through taxes. The other ways that you might do that, specifically, we started this talking about like the black community, but imagine like immediately millions of black people will be raised out of poverty if we had universal health care, and we can pay for universal health care with taxes on like speculation on Wall Street. So Wall Street can pay 1 to 2% more in their taxes and millions of people be lifted out of poverty. But the Republicans will tell you, no, that's socialism. Socialism bad. We can't do it.
Right. Right. So do you believe that universal health care, is the biggest issue to coming out of poverty in the black community?
I think it would be, I don't know if it's necessarily the biggest, but I think it would be the one that alleviated the most people at once. Like it would immediately, those that do have health insurance, it's they're likely their employer's not paying for all of it. They might pay for some of it. That's a monthly bill that's coming out. So for people who are living paycheck to paycheck, and who are paying, a family might be paying $2,000 to $3,000 a month in healthcare, but let's keep it low. Let's keep it 1,000. Let's just say now that that $1,000 is not coming out of their check anymore. Now the taxes again will go up on Wall Street. That's an extra $1,000 for Americans, right? Imagine what would happen if everybody living paycheck to paycheck right now were able to get all the money that they spend on health insurance back.
Right. Right.
That's a
That
substantial amount of money.
Yes, absolutely. I think we do have to explore, how many people in these impoverished neighborhoods actually even have health insurance to begin with.
I
And I
agree,
think that's
but even just on like a basic level, even if we're not talking about rising out of poverty in this world, the United States is nowhere near the best healthcare system. Like when you
oh
look,
yeah.
yeah, we're like 13th, and all 12 above us have universal healthcare. And universal healthcare, just from an economic standpoint, as a former conservative, one of the things that I'm able to find a lot of common ground with conservatives now, where I couldn't necessarily earlier, but now is that we recognize that universal health care would be between 3 and 4 times cheaper than what we're paying right now. I think everybody agrees that we should not commodify human life, that there should not be insurance companies and pharmaceutical companies where the CEO makes $30 million off of my health. That makes
Right.
no sense. Why does he get to make money off of me, off of my health? Just me being alive. Like, I want to stay alive. He's like, great, I got $30 million for that. Did he fix anything? No. All he did was make sure the stock price was high. So if we get rid of that, if we get rid of that, the financial incentives from the health insurance companies and big pharma, our pharmaceutical prices come down. So just from a purely economic standpoint, the smartest thing we could possibly do is universal health care. But again, Republicans have been sending us this message for decades, and that socialism bad, therefore we can't do universal health care. And statistically, like, there's not even an argument against it anymore. It's just we would be way better with universal health care.
Right, right. So do you think that conservatives believe that universal health care would be bad if it was based on redistribution of these funds versus extra taxation?
Well, it is redistribution essentially, right? Because most people are paying either out of their check, or they're paying like they're writing a check, or it's auto drafted from their account. Most people with insurance. If you take that away, if you take away the employer insurance and everybody just has universal health care, it's taken care of through taxes. Now, some people's taxes may go up. I think the average American spends like $12,000 a year on healthcare. Under Bernie Sanders' Medicare for All, it would be 8,000. It would be a $4,000 difference. The average American would save $4,000 a year.
Right. So yeah, I mean, I don't live in that space. I'm lucky enough to have fringe benefits with my job, so I'm glad I don't
Yeah.
have to worry about
Well,
that. But I know
wait,
my
I don't know
case
what
is not everybody's.
fringe benefits. What does that mean? I don't know what that means.
So basically, all of my health, dental, vision, all of that is paid 100% by
Oh,
my
okay.
employer for my entire family.
Where now?
Uh,
Imagine this. Imagine your employer doesn't have to pay that. They could probably pay you more, right?
Absolutely, 100%.
They might be able to
Uh,
give you guys pizza every Friday, whatever it is,
that's a
right?
while. Yeah, no,
Like
I don't work.
it's a massive burden on employers. I owned a business at the time when two things happened while I owned a business. We had obviously the Obamacare, and we had the raise in minimum wage. And those are two times in my business that we had like a substantial change. But like it was an increased cost. And as business owners, like our business, we couldn't just be like, we couldn't just give people shitty benefits. Like, we just had to take the hit as the owners. We're like, we're going to make less
Right.
money. It's the law. But had that not happened, we would have paid people more money. Like, everybody at our company would have had, they would have had more money, and they would have universal health care with no copay and no deductible. There's a lot of people, myself included. Like, I'm not wealthy, but like I've stashed enough money away that like if something came up, I'd be able to pay for it. But it still is scary. Most Americans, if they have to go to the doctor, it's a real thought of like, oh shit, like, do I want to
Right.
pay, yeah, do I want to pay my bills, or do I want to pay a doctor? Like, oh, maybe my pain's not that bad. And so
Right.
we get more things like heart disease. We get things like undetected cancers. We're late to detect all of these things. And so then the preventative care doesn't work anymore. And that's the system that we've made. That's what happens when you have to make the decision between, am I dying or not? And you're not a doctor, so you don't know.
Right, right. So yeah, what you're saying makes sense. So in the current state, you know, there is, obviously free healthcare for those who are at a certain threshold. We know that exists.
Yeah.
So so that already exists. So I guess the space that we're referring to is more so closer to the middle class. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, no, I don't think that space is just for like. I mean, if you have a full time job, and it's likely that you won't get healthcare because your employer has to pay for it, right? So it's likely that you may get some government assistance, but you probably don't qualify. Some do, I would imagine. I
Right.
don't know what the exact numbers are, but yeah, for the middle class, that would be a massive burden lifted from them, especially if you want good health insurance. If you're middle class and you want good health insurance, you're talking thousands of dollars a month.
Absolutely, it's about about $3,000 for a family of four,
Yeah.
and that's on the low end. But yeah, I'm aware of that. So again, like so when we talk about the healthcare portion, like do you remember like one of the things? And like I said, I'm not a Trump supporter. I am a conservative.
Hmm.
I don't subscribe to his character. But what I will say, do you remember what he was talking about as far as like what we import a lot in the medical field that we shouldn't, that we should produce at home?
Meaning
Saline.
pharmaceuticals.
Yeah, saline was the
Yeah.
number one thing that he talked
Yeah.
about.
He also
It's
talked
something.
about like removing the restrictions around the states so that you could have cross like interstate insurance. Those were like the two main components of
Yeah,
his deal. Yeah.
and would that be? I feel like that would be extremely helpful.
Well, yeah, it
Would you
would, but
agree?
if yeah, it would, but again, like these are like band-aid measures. If what he's correctly identifying is that we're paying too much for saline, we could be paying less. But he
Right,
stops there. We could also be paying less for all of our drugs. And why? Because pharmaceutical companies and health insurance companies exist. They're stopping at the wrong place. Like he's
right,
correctly identifying that we're paying too much, but because Republicans can't come out and be like universal health care, they have to stop right there. They don't extend that logic any further to, wait, what if we paid less for all of our shit? Wouldn't that be cool? And how would we do that? We would collectively bargain. You, me, everybody else, we're on the same team, and the government negotiates with the pharmaceutical prices, and we've got a lot of leverage there because there's 350 million people in this country. The pharmaceutical companies don't exist without us. Like they're going to have to lower our prices. They have no choice.
right. So when we talk about universal health care, right? Um, who like when we talk about the existing expenses right now for universal health care, like if you talk about the providers, will we be as a government paying the going rate currently for that universal health care, like to these providers? I can't hear you. I don't know if something
I'm
happened to
muted.
my.
That was on
Okay,
me.
yeah.
No, I support Bernie Sanders Medicare for all. So what they basically replace the insurance provider. The government becomes the insurer. The government becomes the one that pays the bills, right? So when you go to the doctor, you have your insurance card. The doctor does whatever. You leave. You don't pay anything. The doctor sends the bill to the government. The government pays the doctor. So
What
the doctor
happens to
doesn't
all of
work for the government, just like the doctor doesn't work for the insurance company. So
right?
for the doctors, not a lot changed. That's why I like his plan. It takes the least amount of time and effort to transition over, and it still allows these doctors to not be in a position where the government is dictating what they say. I still want doctors to have freedom to practice, and I want doctors that are really good doctors and who work really hard to be able to make more than a doctor who doesn't work that hard. So that's why I like
Right.
Bernie Sanders' plan.
Right. So what happens to the insurance companies?
They go away,
What
except for
happens to
like
the
they can
jobs?
those jobs go away. But remember that now we have a nationwide insurance, and so most of the people that are working in insurance companies will be able to apply for those government jobs. The sales reps, I don't give a shit about. Honestly, like they can lose their job. I don't care. They that never should have existed in the first place. We've had industries come and go in this country because we didn't need them anymore. It's always happened. Like I was reading the other day in like 1904. Like, do you know what our number one export was?
And
Or in the
when?
world, the number one export.
Like a specific product?
Yeah, or I guess no, the number one industry. That's a better way to put it. Do you know what the number one industry was?
Food?
Whaling, because we
What?
used whaling. Uh,
Help me. Help me.
yeah, whaling is so we used to get oil from whales.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but what happened? We discovered oil, and that industry went away overnight. Everybody had horses. Cars replaced that. So yeah, like the industry will be replaced, and we will replace it with a different industry. But as far as like the structural people, the people who build out payment processors, the people that build out billing infrastructure, all those people would then have the opportunity to apply for a federal job.
Yeah. So they would basically be working for the government to function in a similar capacity, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if that is the situation, and that it doesn't increase taxation for the majority of people, then I think that that's a legitimate, path to go. I just don't know how we can make it actually happen, and that's that's a part of the process, and I understand that,
Yeah.
so that makes
I would
sense.
I just recommend go read. So Bernie Sanders has his Medicare for All plan available, and he has like some really good breakdowns with graphics. Not only does he explain like how it would work, but he explains how he funds it. And you'll see like we could fund this without really like I know the scare tactics. I worked on Mitt Romney's campaign, so obviously like we were arguing against Obamacare and how it would be the end of the world. So I know what the Republican viewpoints were, but Bernie Sanders lays out like most of those viewpoints don't matter. It's all fear tactics. They don't. Big pharma doesn't want to go away. Insurance doesn't want to go away. They've been lobbying the government forever. They're friends with people in the government, but we've got to get them out of the way. Like they're just bleeding us dry.
Right, right. So yeah, my only issue is when we talk about this, is that we have a lot of jobs, and I know you said you don't care about the sales rep, but people in sales are real people, and they have real
I don't know
families.
about that. Just kidding.
They
Just
are. Not everybody's a sleazy salesperson. So I
kidding.
think that the industries that you mentioned, we talked about whaling and then transitioning to drilling, and then you talked about horses transitioning to cars, but we're talking about creating an entire government infrastructure for jobs in healthcare, which
Yeah.
doesn't seem like that would apply to sales reps at all. It seems like you would apply
Yeah.
online in kind of a digital format, and then just get your health insurance. Now, obviously, they
Yeah.
can do databases to process that information, which is fine, but you are eliminating, likely millions of jobs
If we had a industry in this country where you like they sold children, right?
as
And we
well. Yeah.
eliminated that industry, that industry. Would you be
So
like, well,
wow.
what about the salespeople?
Yeah, no, I think so.
Right.
Like
I
we
think
look
their
at.
job is unethical. I don't think that job should exist, and I feel sorry that they'll lose their jobs. That sucks. I feel for them, but the job that they're doing is unethical. That job should not exist.
Okay, so let's. I mean, we have to just explore why healthcare became a thing to begin with. You
Yeah,
know,
because we refused to fund it. Like we refused to do universal health care. We had a choice, and we decided free market.
right? So before that, so we never had universal healthcare, right?
No, there was. I mean, there was like, but it was more on a state level. But no, we did not have like universal health care for the country. But there's a lot of states that have had health care.
Yeah, yeah, but we're talking about at a scale. When we talk
Yeah,
about the
yeah. No,
entire
we've
nation,
never done it.
there was no system like that.
Right,
So there had to be someone to come in to say, hey, a lot of you people can't come out of pocket and pay the expense every time you go to the hospital.
right.
Let's try to create something. It wasn't with, I mean, I don't know their intent because I did not create the industry.
Yeah,
But I will tell you is that a lot of people were relieved to know that they could pay a smaller fee monthly than having to pay, $3,000 every time they go to the hospital. So I
yeah.
think
No, I
that there,
agree. Yeah, people needed that, and if let's just pretend you and I don't know, but let's just pretend whoever started it, they had the best of intentions. Either way, look what happened. Like it doesn't work because if you give people an incentive to make money, they're going to keep chasing that incentive, and they get big enough that they don't have to care about the individual. It's not like they're located in your hometown and you can go walk into their office and talk to them, right? They get so big that they don't care about you and I. They don't care about the individual anymore. They care only about profit, and that's where we have a problem. That's like we've seen what happens when you do for-profit insurance. What happens? This happens when you do universal health care. We've now seen a lot of countries for decades, and what's happening? Their health outcomes are better than ours. Their people are more happy. Their people are more healthy. They're less likely to be go. I mean, obviously, 0% chance of going into bankruptcy. Medical bills are the number one reason for bankruptcy in this country. Other
absolutely.
countries don't even have that. Like a thing that can ruin your life in this country, every other civilized country like doesn't have that.
Right, right. No, I understand. So, like, and I know somebody mentioned the VA, and I think that's a great example to bring up when we talk about a government-run institution for health, like, and how it has been failing consistently. And now we want.
Hold on. Their satisfaction ratings and their outcomes are higher than our private insurance. So even the things that we point to and be like, "Hey, we can't do this because of the VA," their outcomes and their satisfaction are higher than private insurance. So you're pointing to something that actually is better than what we have. I agree, it needs to be fixed. It should be better, but it's
Right.
better than what we have.
Yeah, so just the facilities themselves are run down in comparison to private institutions. We know that.
In comparison to certain private
Right.
institutions, but not all.
Right, right. Yeah, many of the ones that I've seen
But
are
as a whole, on average, if you take the average from both our private and the VA has better outcomes and better satisfaction. It is a better overall program. There will
well,
never be a medical system that's perfect. Even if we do Bernie Sanders Medicare for all, there will be problems. But like it's about limiting the amount of problems and mitigating the exposure, especially for those who like we most need to protect, right?
yeah, yeah. This is so. I mean, for me, I think we're talking about a much smaller sample size. That's the only thing that I would refute with that is the sample size. When you talk about satisfaction, it's much smaller than private institutions. But what I will say is that we know that Trump, or I hate saying his name, but the Republican Party,
Appreciate you saying that. I
right,
appreciate that.
the
Yeah.
Republican Party has made efforts in that. When we look at the Restoring Community Safety Act and Restoring National Security Act, that's the National Security Act. I think is the one that addresses the VA treatment and allowing them also to have an option to go to private institutions if that is something that's more suitable for them.
Yeah,
Uh,
so but that's the question then. If even the Republicans recognize that we need to fund, and obviously this is socialized medicine essentially, right? This is us funding people's health care, and the federal government recognizes that it needed more funding and it needed to be more expansive, and they offer all these protections. Like you're not going to be billed out the ass for your medication when you go to the VA because there's protection, because Americans love their vets, and it's really easy to pass legislation when you say like, hey, this is for veterans. And it's interesting that Americans will look at us pass this legislation for veterans and we're like, good for them, but fuck the rest of us. Like we could like the VA. You know what would happen to the VA if we had universal health care? It would
it
be
would not be
gone.
gone. Yeah, it wouldn't exist.
Yeah, and you know what would be injected? Hundreds of millions of people who aren't using healthcare. Like their money goes in because it's a pool. You suddenly take all the healthy people and you put them in the pool. So the sick and the healthy are all together in one pool. And you use healthcare when you need it. You go see a doctor when you need to go see a doctor. But it's interesting, like that's always baffling to me that Republicans will sit there and be like, "Yeah, socialized medicine works, but only for veterans." Well, what's different? Like, there's no difference between a veteran and me as far as like healthcare goes. What's the difference
Yes.
there? The
Well, I think
difference
the
is that they're allowed to do it because nobody's going to say no to funding veterans.
well, why would they not say no to funding veterans? I mean, that's a critical
Exactly.
question.
So why did they
Uh,
say no? But those same Republicans say no to me, say no to anybody who's not a veteran. No, you guys don't deserve it. You don't deserve a better system. Only the veterans do.
Well, I mean, I think we got to think about like when we talk about you might pay for your health insurance through your earned income. And some will argue that veterans pay for their health insurance through their sacrifice, that is their livelihood. And I think that that's a valid argument. I
But
like I
but when you pay, there's somebody on the other end making a bunch of money off of it. And when the veterans pay through their service, there's nobody profiting off that.
when the veterans pay through their service, nobody's profiting.
No.
Well, I mean, we
Because they're not paying an insurance company, right? So they're like when I pay money to an insurance company, built into the price that I pay that insurance company is going to be sales commissions, is going to be making sure that their stock price goes up. It might be dividends to investors. It's going to be CEO and C-level bonuses. Like built into what I pay every month
right.
for insurance is a bunch of people making money off of me. For the veterans, that's not the case. Outside of the doctors, the person providing the care, and the people who work administratively, nobody's making money. I'll give you another example that's pretty crazy. Medicare, which is we like Medicare for all. Medicare right now it's mostly full of people who have to use it, right? And 80% of the money that we spend on Medicare goes directly to the patient. 20% of it is administrative costs, so billing, obviously hiring workers. 20%. So out of all the money we spend on Medicare, 80% of it goes directly to patient care. It's the exact opposite in the private industry. 20% goes to the patient. It's the
Right.
exact opposite.
So yeah, that makes sense. What I will say is when we talk about the veterans not deserving it, this is an incentive to get people to enlist. This is something that they know at the forefront. It's not like, do you think we'd have the same number of people participating without this benefit?
I'm not a veteran. I don't know. Maybe not. Probably not.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
I don't
I
know
would
how
think it's
significant it would be, but if you're like, I'm cool with the military. Like, I'm cool with people not having to go serve in the military because they don't have a different option, right? Like some
right,
people, that's their own. They're like, shit. The only way for me to get insurance is to go serve in the military. I would prefer that not exist. I don't like that.
right. I mean, but we know that these incentives have to exist to get the numbers that we need.
We could also
There's
stop
several.
going to war so much. That's
Yeah,
another thing we could do.
fair enough, but
We don't have to have troops in every goddamn country.
yeah, but on both sides, we
Yeah.
kind of we share
Yeah. No, I
that
don't think
burden.
that's particularly partisan. Yeah, I agree with
Yeah,
you.
yeah. So, and I know we talked about that. I'm glad we had this conversation about healthcare. I think that I do want to explore a little bit more about Bernie Sanders and how it can come to be and what that infrastructure looks like and how we kind of redistribute these people that will be out of jobs because it is millions of people.
Yeah, and look,
So
here's my conservative olive branch. If you don't want to read it, he did an episode with Joe Rogan. There's our conservative guy. Like you can hear he explains in detail how it would work on Joe Rogan's podcast too, and it was a great episode. But I recommend reading it and then come back and I've went like 40 minutes over because it was so
yeah, I'm
refreshing to
sorry,
talk
y'all.
to a human. No. Look, read it. Come back anytime, man. This was an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm following you. I'll go ahead and add the notifications so I can know when you're going live. But I
E-
appreciate you having me
every
on.
every morning 9:30 a.m. till 1 Pacific time, Monday through Friday. Felice and I are here.
Okay, perfect. I'm excited. Maybe
All right, brother.
we'll continue. Have a good
Let's
one.
do it. All right, you
All right,
too.
see
Have
ya.
a good day. All right, everybody, that's it. Hope you enjoyed the overtime. What a great guest. See, there's we can restore faith in the conservatives right there with Tez. We'll be back tomorrow morning and every morning, like I said, 9:30 a.m. to 1 Pacific Standard Time. If you missed part of the show today, the replay is always up on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe there and have notifications on, and that'll let you know when events are starting, when we have videos that are posted, and you can also chat there. If you want to invite to the Discord, shoot me or Jen a message, and I will see all of you tomorrow.